thumb over to the pinky. Good. Take the shoulders down and back. Working on our postural alignment. Let's lift a knee, working and engaging the core. Good. Lift the other foot. Very nice. Place that foot down. And let's inhale up. Exhale down. And one more. Inhale up. And let's finish with a great
Good morning. I will now call the August 30th San Diego County Board of Supervisors regular and in-home supportive services authority meeting to order. Will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Supervisor Anderson. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Here.
Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas here.
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher here. We will begin with the invocation. The invocation will be delivered by Deacon Joe Johnson from Mount Airy Baptist Church. We welcome you and ask everyone to please rise.
Thank you. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, who has dominion over the life and death, granted to us the grace to remember with love and reverence our valiant and honor departed Conrad. Most gracious Father of us all, from whom come all help and blessing, look upon us gathered here with thy favor. Direct us in all our actions. Grant us vigilant heart. Give us minds to know thee, diligence to seek thee, and wisdom to find thee. Sanctify us with thy presence. Bless us with thy might, and assist us with thy counsel, that all our endeavors may begin with thee and through thee may be happy ended. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, my friends. Wonderful to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Please remain standing. The Pledge of Allegiance will be delivered by Kathleen Jones' first grade class from Jarabeck Elementary School. We welcome you all. Thank you for joining us this morning. We ask you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day at school.
Thank you.
We will now proceed with our proclamations. I will give the first proclamation to Latino Outdoors. Accepting the proclamation will be Wendy Garcia and Ellie Rodarte. Today I'm proud to recognize Latino Outdoors San Diego, a group that is contributing significantly to making the outdoors accessible and welcoming. Latino Outdoors San Diego is a unique Latino-led organization that focuses on cultivating relationships and creating a community of leaders in outdoor education. As a part of this really important work, they focus on expanding and amplifying the Latino experience in the outdoors. They do this by hosting outdoor recreational events, hiking, biking, kayaking, beach barbecues. These community gatherings are incredibly empowering for the community and individuals, many of whom have never had the opportunity to participate in a lot of these outdoor activities, and many who need the opportunity to see a place of belonging and access, to see help and assistance in having their first experience. And they cultivate the community. They provide these opportunities, but they also demonstrate in so many of these outdoor experiences and activities the leadership, the mentorship, so much that brings us together when we have these shared experiences in these settings. And I'm a tremendous fan of the work that they do. Here at the county, we appreciate it tremendously. And in my State of the County this year, I talked about Experience the Outdoors. We have incredible county parks. This weekend, I took my family to Flynn Springs Regional Park. We had a wonderful day hiking, checking out all the native plants that are there, hearing the stories from the rangers. Then we had an incredible Frisbee football game. We enjoyed the time with our dogs that were there. We just had a wonderful experience, a picnic next to a stream that literally runs 365 days a year, a stream that is fed from the groundwater that comes up from below. That experience is available, but it's not accessible for everyone who's out there. How do you tell a single mom with 3 kids whose kids desperately want to try mountain biking just go buy them 3 mountain bikes and helmets and all of the gear and equipment and somehow manage to get that to a trail or park you may not know exists. Our Experience the Outdoors program is designed to help break down these barriers, to really take the work that they do and help bring it to a bigger scale so that more people can have more opportunities to have these incredible experiences. There's so much you learn about yourself and about others when you get outdoors. There's wonderful opportunities to families to come together in an affordable way and right here in our own backyard. And so I just really wanted to take a moment today as we launch these efforts around our parks and others to really commend the work of Latino Outdoors San Diego, who have been doing this for a considerable amount of time. They've been the trailblazers, and what we're trying to do as a county and getting more people is to really support and put some more resources behind what you all have been doing and really help our communities be strong and healthy. And so I am pleased to be here today to proclaim by myself and all members of the Board of Supervisors the 16th day of August 2022. We commend Latino Outdoors for your service, leadership, dedication, commitment to making outdoors accessible, and hereby do proclaim this day to be Latino Outdoors Day throughout San Diego County. And thank you both for being here, and I'd like to welcome you to say a few words.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the chair and the board. Good morning, everyone. My name is Wendy Garcia. I am the program coordinator for the San Diego chapter of Latino Outdoors.
Hi, everyone, and my name is Eli Rodarte. I'm one of the outings leaders.
So, we're a small but mighty team of volunteers here in San Diego County of 5 volunteers. We inspire, connect, and engage Latino communities with the outdoors. And as part of the outdoor narrative, we like to include culture and family as well. That's very important to us. Ensuring that our history, heritage, and leadership are valued and represented. And we certainly do feel valued today. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you.
You want to say anything else? You want to say anything? You're good? All right, come on, take a picture. It'll look straight. Our next proclamation will be from Vice Chair Vargas, honoring Imperial Beach Neighborhood Center, and accepting this proclamation will be John Griffith.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Over the last couple of years, we've seen many of our community organizations set up and support so many needs. Today, I want to recognize one such organization that has been a pillar of hope and support for so many in the community, particularly of Imperial Beach, by strengthening and protecting those in need. The Imperial Beach Neighborhood Center was founded in 2018 to address the needs of the community, but their history actually dates back a lot further than that. The concept of the center emerged from the outreach programs established by the Imperial Beach Methodist Church in 1948, and today the Neighborhood Center actually lends a helping hand in the community by providing necessary services while focusing on the empowerment and well-being of all Imperial Beach residents. The center is committed to providing food assistance to food insecure community members, homeless outreach, family and senior services, and reunited children with incarcerated parents. Food insecurity is one of the most challenging issues facing the residents of South County. The IB Neighborhood Center daily, their food pantry collaborates with the San Diego Food Bank, Feeding San Diego, and provides fresh vegetables from their garden as well. Their commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion makes them among the most welcoming community service organizations serving our South Bay communities. With hate crimes and anti-LGBTQ threats on the rise, the IB Neighborhood Center strives to create a safe, inclusive, non-judgmental community for the families and youth in the area. We recognize the outstanding commitment and dedication that IB Neighborhood Center has shown over the years for our South Bay and Imperial Beach communities. Therefore, on behalf of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors, this is my favorite part, be it proclaimed that by Chair Fletcher and all of the members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors on this 30th day of August 2022 that we commend the Imperial Beach Neighborhood Center in San Diego County for outstanding service and commitment to the wellness of county residents with their vision to nurture, hope, and empower people to create a community in action, and do hereby declare August 30th to be Imperial Beach Neighborhood Center Day throughout San Diego County. Thank you for all the fantastic work that you do for our community.
My name is John Griffin Attil. I'm the Executive Director of the Imperial Beach Neighborhood Center. I'm here with my husband, Jose, who is very nervous that he might have to speak, but we are committed to our community, fundamentally. We're small, but we're mighty. And in fact, right now, we're in the process of redeveloping our entire campus. We're going to tear it all down. We're going to build affordable housing for low-income seniors and also for formerly homeless seniors, and a new neighborhood center that will be able to greatly increase the impact we have in the community. So we thank you for this recognition very much.
Thank you, and congratulations. Our next proclamation will be from Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer and Supervisor Desmond honoring beacons. Accepting the proclamation will be Lucille Lynch.
It is my honor to welcome Lucille, the president of Beacons North County, and her team to the Supervisors Board Chamber. We are excited to honor their amazing work and the impact of Beacons North County. Beacons was founded in 2018 to provide training, activities, and services to help adults with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities. They help to increase independence in education, employment, health and fitness, housing, self-advocacy, and more. Through its Pathfinder and Explorer programs, Beacons North County has provided free and/or low-cost post-secondary employment, employment placement, vocational training to over 100 individuals with developmental disabilities. Earlier this year, our board championed legislation on behalf of neurodiverse individuals. While this is just a small example of how we can create a more inclusive San Diego, we are all learning from each other. And I am so grateful to have the Beacons team as a partner with the county. I will now hand it over to my colleague, Supervisor Jim Desmond, who is co-presenting this proclamation.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Supervisor Lawson-Remer. Appreciate it. And I had the honor of seeing the incredible work Beacons North County has contributed to our community and to our economy. In fact, one of their students, Joe Collette, he actually designed the cover of my State of North County program booklet. And so we used that just recently, and it was great work. And they have a heavy emphasis on computer skills and technology. So since 2018, Beacons has provided opportunities through its Club Beacons division to foster social connections, especially during the pandemic and the non-pandemic times, to over 200 individuals. The Chamber of Commerce of Carlsbad has recognized Beacon Inc. as a nonprofit finalist for the second year in a row for their impact and inclusion of their works in the regional economy. And so they are very deserving of this recognition, and it is my honor to present this proclamation alongside with Supervisor Lawson-Remer, and therefore now be it proclaimed by Supervisor Lawson-Remer and myself and the entire Board of Supervisors that we commend Beacons Inc. for their empowering adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities and for their outstanding commitment to the well-being of our community, and do hereby declare today, the 30th day of August, to be Beacons North County Day throughout San Diego County. So we're joined today by Lucille Lynch, the president of the organization, and she's going to be accepting the proclamation on behalf of Beacons North County. So please, would you join me at the podium, Lucille? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher, Vice Chair Vargas, and fellow supervisors for this momentous and unforgettable honor. Thank you, too, to Megan, Cipriano, Adrian, and Lauren for your roles in helping make this happen. I am here today as the president and one of the co-founders, along with fellow co-founders, Mary Backer and Janet Shanker, and board member Anna Venegas, and I in spirit with other board members, Laura Makings, Melissa Collins-Porter, and Charlie Duncan. Paul Kionis and Wendy Backer are over there from the San Diego Regional Center. At Beacons, our mission is to team up with individuals who happen to have developmental disabilities to identify, develop, and create opportunities to build bridges to employment and community resources. Thank you to our tireless volunteers. We have been able to move mountains, have gone from 4 individuals to over 200. Thanks to the support of the San Diego Regional Center, again, they are over there, most of our options are available at no cost to ensure accessibility. And again, thanks to this board, the hard work of our trainees and staff for this acknowledgement. Supervisor Desmond, as our former supervisor in which we are located, I want to thank you for believing in Beacons by helping us with grant funding to improve site accessibility during our first expansion. Now, less than 4 years since opening, we are looking to expand a third time. Thank you for believing in our trainees, and as you mentioned, Joe Collette, who you welcome and hired to do your program. Supervisor Lawson Reamer, as our current supervisor, we look forward to your leadership in areas too infrequently navigated and underrepresented. As a fellow board parent of a loved one with a disability, we know the type of work that we do and the mission of Beacons resonates with you in a manner that others may not fully appreciate. I assure you we intend to earn this proclamation daily and to bring honor to those who so richly and are so richly deserving of our respect by presuming competence and embracing their voices in our decision making. On behalf of Beacons North County, my profound thanks to this entire board for this proclamation and for your service and for approving the plan to opening doors to workers who are neurodivergent. It has been a privilege to be here today. Thank you.
Sorry, a couple more.
Thank you so much to Beacons for all of your great work. It's appreciated. Our next proclamation will be from Supervisor Desmond, honoring Day of Giving. And accepting the proclamation will be Allison Aragon.
All right. Just Allison and Sharon. Hi, Allison. Thank you for being here today. Well, good morning. It is my honor to recognize San Diego Gives Project and welcome their representatives here today, Allison Aragon, and she's a founding member of San Diego Gives, and Sharon Goodson, she's the Vice President of Philanthropy for the Leech Tag Foundation. So thank you for being here with us. We're very grateful for what you're doing to help families and communities in need. When look forward to hearing one special story you're going to share with us in a few minutes. San Diego Gives is a nonprofit founded in 2021, just recently, by a group of volunteers from local nonprofit organizations in San Diego County. And their focus is on a regional day of giving coming up next Thursday, September 8th, 2022. So this day will highlight local, urgent community needs by using an interactive website and an online crowdfunding campaign. San Diego Gives, their mission is to create a special day of giving across the county by building a community resources and local nonprofit organizations to connect the people and to the causes that they care about most. There are 327 nonprofits participating next week, and I might add 71 of those happen to be in North County, District 5. And San Diego Gives aims to raise at least $2 million from about 4,000 or more donors across San Diego County. So today, we'd like to remind our families and friends of the upcoming September 8th, San Diego Gives Day, and I encourage our citizens and nonprofit foundations to connect and participate on this significant day. It's a day we can all pull together, fight for causes that we all know are worthy, and make a difference. So whereas the County of San Diego, we are committed to recognizing those organizations who are dedicated to the public service, and San Diego Gives is one such worthy organization. So therefore, be it proclaimed by myself and all the members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors that on the 8th day of September, 2022, we commend and honor San Diego Gives for their service of united those in needs and those nonprofits who have the resources, and hereby declare this day to be San Diego Gives Day throughout San Diego County. So Allison, if you want to give a few remarks with one of the members of San Diego Gives. Allison, come on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor. Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Aragon, and I am a proud native San Diegan, born and raised in Jamul, and a current resident of District 5 in Oceanside. I have worked in the San Diego nonprofit sector for the last 9 years, and I just wanted to say thanks to all the other nonprofit organizations that are here today. The work you do is immensely important. And I currently work at Pro Kids First Tee San Diego, which is an after-school golf and education program in City Heights and Oceanside that has received the support of all of the districts here over our 28-year history. So that's greatly appreciated as well. Thank you, everyone. The students I work with regularly remind me that life is not about keeping score. It's about maintaining the drive and discipline needed for continued growth and for building meaningful friendships along the way. San Diego Gives is that magical combination of care, collaboration, and connection across all of San Diego County. So thank you to all those of you who are not in the room today, every volunteer, sponsor of San Diego Gives, but particularly the County of San Diego for investing in the nonprofit sector. You believe in the value of this sector and in creating capacity for nonprofit organizations by providing professional development opportunities for nonprofit professionals. You understand the priceless return on investing in others. We have the chance to collectively invest in the nonprofit sector on Thursday, September 8th. However, if you feel compelled to do so today, early giving is now open, and you can go to sandiegogives.org to give to any of the 327 nonprofits participating, or choose the Love Them All option and give to every single one. Now I am grateful to introduce someone who goes above and beyond for communities across San Diego County. She is the Vice President of Philanthropy at Leach Tag Foundation, who is providing fiscal sponsorship and leadership to San Diego Gives this year. Everyone, please help me in welcoming Sharon Goodson.
Hi, everybody. I need you to use your imagination a little bit and pretend that I am a 19-year-old Latino young man named Diego Gonzalez. Diego was supposed to join us today and share this speech himself, but it's the first day of his courses at CSU San Marcos, and we were afraid to get in the way of that because we're all about success after high school, and we don't want him to get off on the wrong foot. So I will read this for him. Good morning. It is an honor to speak with you. My name is Diego Gonzalez, and I am a first-year student at Cal State San Marcos, majoring in Management Information Systems and minoring in Spanish. I am also a first-generation college student. I am here representing the San Marcos Promise, a wonderful nonprofit that educates thousands of students each year about the real world and teaches them life skills that will help them throughout their career journeys. I participated in Promise programs throughout high school and continue now as a college ambassador. The Promise helped me confidently land my first job after I learned the steps in the job search process, got help creating a resume, and practiced interviewing skills. I also learned to budget and save money through the Money Matters workshops. I wasn't the best at handling my money and would overspend on unnecessary things. I now have a bank account and know the importance of saving. The San Marcos Promise is proud to be one of the 327 organizations involved in San Diego Gives. The Promise has benefited greatly from the training and mentoring this project has provided, and we are all looking forward to September 8th. This will be a special day of online giving for local nonprofits. The San Marcos Promise looks forward to raising funds needed to continue its important work of helping students like me build confidence, open doors to a meaningful career, and achieve a self-sufficient future. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Can we get a picture?
Thank you and congratulations. This morning we're fortunate to have a very special presentation from the California State Association of Counties Challenge Award. We are very grateful and honored as a county to have CSAC's Executive Director, Graham Canas, with us today to be a part of this. And I would like to invite Vice Chair Nora Vargas, who's our county's representative on CSAC. She's been very involved, exerted tremendous leadership in that organization, which we're grateful for and benefits our entire county. And so we'd like to invite Vice Chair Vargas, along with Helen Robbins-Myers, Director of Health and Human Services Agency, Nick Machione, and any county staff that would like to feel free to go down and join for this presentation.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. I am so thrilled about this particular award because I want to ask a couple of our county staff to join us up here. Dr. Kim Giardina, David Estrella, Carrie Richitelli, Dr. Wooden, and Dr. Hernandez, the dream team. You know, as San Diego County's CSAC representative, it really is an honor for me to work with our state association and today to welcome our CSAC Executive Director, Graham Canas, who has just been a phenomenal leader at CSAC. Today, for me, it's always a really proud day to work with our county staff, but particularly today, I didn't want to miss an opportunity to elevate and really promote the amazing services and programs we offer, and really highlight our amazing team members today. So before we say anything else, I'm going to turn it over to Graham so he can share with you why we are receiving these amazing awards today. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Supervisor. Good morning, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. It is certainly not my first time coming here to present awards because there is an incredible culture of innovation in San Diego County. You may be, I think you are, the biggest, the county with the most innovation awards in the state, right here, of all 58 counties. So that's awesome. I'm going to spend a moment talking about who we are and what we do. I'm going to recognize 2 merit awards, and we'll ask for a round of applause. And then we will turn also to the 2 challenge awards. So there's a total of 4 awards that are coming to San Diego County today. So first, it's really an honor to be here in person in San Diego County, joining this board and all of you in terms of celebrating this innovative work. I'm Graham Canas, as the supervisor indicated, the executive director of CSAC, and we have the great honor of representing all 58 counties, and we've done that for the last 127 years. We're one of the oldest local government associations in the country, and our core hasn't changed, but some of the services and supports that we provide and reach out to folks to ensure that they have the tools to be successful locally, they have, most certainly during that time. Our core is about advocacy. It's about ensuring that counties have a voice in Sacramento and in DC. We do that through our core priorities, which are set by our board, including Supervisor Vargas. And I'm just going to reference a few of them because San Diego is a leader in some of those as well. Homelessness and housing, behavioral health, broadband, resiliency, where this county began as a leader way back in the 2007 and 2008 time period, and certainly some of the federal funding that's coming through American Recovery and Reinvestment Act and the Infrastructure Act that's there, ensuring that there's an opportunity to both implement and support and transform communities through those dollars. We also operate a foundation. Your county administrator sits on that board, and our foundation houses the CSAC Institute, which is the national model for policy and leadership development in the country. It began, actually the first class we ever held was right down the road at the Marriott back in 2008. And the first satellite campus we had outside of Sacramento was also here in San Diego. San Diego County was a leader in driving that. The campus has come here a couple of times to offer that policy and leadership development directly to your team. And so there's a lot that is occurring here in San Diego County related to innovation. Supervisor Vargas, I want to thank her because she sits on our board. She also sits as the vice chair of our Housing, Land Use, and Transportation Policy Committee, and more recently, our Homelessness Action Team, which is a group of supervisors that are pulling together all counties to make a positive change around homelessness. I also want to particularly thank Chairman Fletcher for his leadership on homelessness, on behavioral health, and really setting the example for city-county collaboration, which is critically needed, and I think the foundational component in order to make success in communities around homelessness and really a number of other issues. And so now I want to turn and really move towards innovation. This past year for our Challenge Award program, we had 400 entries, which is the most we have ever had in our 28-year history. San Diego County is always at the towards the top of the list in terms of recognizing that innovation. And we do have the 2 Challenge Awards, which is our highest award, and the 2 Merit Awards. For the Merit Awards, they are, pardon the long titles. The first one is operationalizing a sector-specific approach during a pandemic. I'll explain what that is in just a second. And using non-traditional data to understand COVID-19 locally. Both of these were developed during the pandemic. With the first one, operationalizing the sector-specific approach during a pandemic, the county leveraged your award-winning, your visionary Live Well San Diego framework to communicate with and mobilize thousands of stakeholders throughout the region, who then in turn reached all 3+ million residents with critical information. This approach also allowed the county to immediately work with trusted community partners to address underserved communities, many of which have been hit hardest by the pandemic. This successful model proved to be an effective tool in creating community partnerships, in serving vulnerable populations, and I'm pleased to acknowledge a Merit Award for this innovative best practice that other counties may emulate statewide. So please join me with a round of applause. We're good. All right, let's shift to the second Merit Award. Using non-traditional data to understand COVID-19 locally. This project is a paragon of collaboration, where the county drew upon local expertise in science to quickly identify areas to focus messaging to populations that were at risk. Much of the data and the techniques that the county and local university partners focused on, such as travel patterns, social media monitoring, engineering modeling, were innovative and well ahead of the COVID-19 curve. CSAC congratulates the dedicated county staff behind that program as well, which was not just an innovation here in San Diego County, but a model that was looked at throughout the state. So please join me with a round of applause recognizing that. Next, let's turn to the Challenge Awards. I want to spend a few minutes talking about them. The first is the county's Fostering Academic Success in Education program. As we all know, children and youth involved in the foster care system tend to achieve at lower levels academically and are at higher risk of dropping out of school. This is true in San Diego County, where 48% of foster youth graduate compared to 82% of the general population, and those statistics are true statewide as well. To help improve educational outcomes for foster youth, this program, Fostering Academic Success in Education, or FASE, was piloted in August of 2020. This program is a collaboration between the County Office of Education, and a local high school district, the Sweetwater Union High School District. Foster youth students receive a range of supports and services through the program, which makes it unique in the child welfare space. Typically, foster youth are assigned a social worker to focus on overall case management needs. What's unique here is that this program allows social workers to also focus on youth's educational progress and the components needed to ensure educational success. After just 1 year, the program has had stunning success. It's remarkable. To spotlight a few of the statistics, 100% of seniors graduated. 100% of seniors graduated. 85% of the students improved their GPA. 95% of the seniors graduated with a 4.0 GPA. 95% college enrollment. And 95% of the youth had no placement changes during the academic year, helping to stabilize placement and education success. That is outstanding. So on behalf of CSAC and the whole county family throughout California, I'm privileged to present San Diego County with the Challenge Award for this innovative, collaborative program. Congratulations. Okay. How about we take a picture at the end? Does that sound good? Our next Challenge Award is being presented to San Diego County for its program Rapid ERAP Implementation Provides Help When Needed. I'll explain that. The COVID-19 pandemic impacted county residents in more ways than just health. If you recall, when California shut down, many people were out of work, causing significant financial hardship and threatening their housing status. To meet the immediate need of renters and landlords, the county designed and implemented an entirely new program within a matter of weeks using federal funds through the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. That's ERAP. San Diego County's swift development of its Emergency Rent and Utilities Assistance Program helped thousands of vulnerable households impacted by the pandemic to avoid displacement and substantial debt. The county intentionally designed the application process and program policies to be straightforward and streamlined for two important reasons: to make the application process user-friendly and fast for renters, and to make the eligibility review process manageable. That's government at work. Between just March and July of 2021, the county awarded 95% of the ERAP funds available, providing nearly $93 million in assistance to more than 11,600 households. The program was successful in preventing evictions and housing instability for thousands of low-income renters who have faced financial hardships due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Recalling back to that time, it also was something that was replicated in a number of different communities throughout the state. It set a new platform for creating stability at a time of significant chaos and uncertainty. So on behalf of CSAC, I'm honored to present San Diego County with the Challenge Award for this highly successful program. Please join me in a round of applause.
you want to do a breakout? Okay, let's do you three first, or from your ward.
We can all move together.
So all
Let's just all
together.
move over here.
Okay. Perfect.
Just one.
Thank you. Congratulations to the county team. Graham, thank you. And thank you to the entire CSAC team. We appreciate all you do on behalf of counties. Grateful for all of that. Next on the agenda is non-agendized public communication. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on matters that are within our jurisdiction but are not on today's agenda. A reminder, according to Rule 4A, members of the public that are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance will be allotted additional time to facilitate translation. And according to our rules of procedure, we will hear from up to 5 in-person speakers and 5 virtual speakers. Any remaining non-agendized public communication speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's agenda. I'll ask the clerk at this time to please call forward up to 10 non-agendized public speakers.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 22 requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 7 in person, and 15 requests to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. Again, we'll be calling the first 5 speakers. The remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. I'd like to invite forward Oliver Twist, Mike Borello, Robert Gurman, Gary Keller, and Audra. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record. You may come forward in any order.
Are you ready? Hi. Good morning. Oliver Twist here. First of all, because I do want to hold everybody accountable equally, I did want to read into the record that Joel Anderson arrived late today. I did not see what time, maybe around 9:15-ish. I'm here today to address, again, the many problems to date with this board's idea of teleconferencing, whether it was the August 31st meeting where a supervisor, and that's 21, logged in late in the afternoon but logged in hours later to cast a tie-breaking vote, or the recent June 15th meeting where they read that a supervisor would be participating via teleconference, but just 11 seconds later, she did not answer the roll call. There is a serious lack of transparency and accountability from this board when it comes to teleconferencing. As such, I did craft some best practices protocols so the public can be assured that the board is living up to the standard that is published in the statement of proceedings when somebody teleconference, quote, and participated in the meeting at the same extent as if they were present. One of those protocols is to always show live shots of teleconferencing participants. You could not get away with putting up a cardboard cutout of yourself during a live meeting while you're in the back room. The public deserves to see your faces and reactions when you teleconference. I will be emailing each of you a copy of the best practices, asking you to commit to them. The public deserves no less. I also now ask you to bring back clapping. I have cited a variety of reasons to do so, including case precedents that deem clapping a form of pure speech, as well as the case precedent highlighted by San Diego City Attorney Mara Elliott that allowed booing, and thus surely must then allow cheering and or clapping. Please bring back clapping. A case precedent says, quote, the happy cacophony of democracy. Your rules are subjective, arbitrary, and capricious, and do not line with the First Amendment. Thank you.
I'm going to remind speakers, according to the rules of procedure, once we get into the agendized item, there are no outbursts from the public. This is the first group warning. Next speaker, please.
As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite an additional speaker. One of the speakers did not wish to address the board, so I'd like to invite forward Michael Brando. Any speakers may come forward. If I've called your name, come forward.
This is Gary Keller speaking. Gillespie Field Airport is poisoning our children with leaded avgas. Tetraethyl lead is found in aviation fuel known as avgas. Gillespie Field is responsible for 1,100 pounds of lead emissions every year. On January 1st of this year, the sale of leaded avgas was banned from use at Reed Hillview Airport in San Jose, California. This unprecedented move was in response to the study that came out on August 3rd of last year, proving that children who live near Reed Hillview Airport had elevated blood lead levels. Between 2011 and 2013, lead air monitoring was performed at 17 airports in the U.S. by the EPA. Gillespie Field was one of those airports. Eventually, all of the airports passed, including Gillespie Field, and were considered safe. Reed Hillview Airport was also on that 17 airport list. The study by Dr. Zaran has proven that the children living near Reed Hillview Airport were not safe from lead emissions. Gillespie Field has 50% more lead emissions than Reed Hillview. Wouldn't that make Gillespie Field far less safe than Reed Hillview Airport, where leaded emissions are concerned? On March 16th of this year, 20 attorney generals and the California Air Resources Board commented on leaded avgas to the EPA's draft strategy to reduce lead exposures and disparities in U.S. communities. They wrote, "The lead strategy gives short shrift to the magnitude and impact of leaded aviation gas on public health and the environment." According to the California Department of Public Health, all children who live near general aviation airports should be tested for lead. We are currently informing the people who live around Gillespie Field of the existence of these lead emissions. This minority and economically disadvantaged area encompasses some of the individuals who cannot afford to move and have received the constant bombarding of these lead emissions every day of the week. Banning the use of leaded fuel from all but emergency aircraft is the only real solution.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mike Borrello. The means by which this Board of Supervisors ascertains public opinion on policy indeed remains an enigma. The situation has eroded so badly, people have sadly given up attending these meetings in despair. This last week, Ms. Reamer, hi Tara, came to Carlsbad to greet her new subjects after district lines redrawn. It was supposed to be a town hall, but the whole affair was us listening to the usual narratives, then Q&A to pre-scripted questions cherry-picked for a feel-good outcome. Obviously my own, a rotten cherry that didn't get picked. So I'll ask it here for the public record. At the August 9 San Diego Board of Supervisors meeting regarding ratification of emergency order for monkeypox, there were 104 e-comments, 16 speakers that overwhelmingly opposed ratification. Fletcher gave a prelude excuse to pass. And quote, "State law requires a declaration of local health emergency to be ratified by the San Diego County Board of Supervisors within 7 days of issuance," unquote. So they just aligned and ratified. I'll further quote my dear late mother, "So if Johnny decides to jump off a cliff, you will too?" How is this board can justify its overwhelming community opposition? In Carlsbad, my pre-submitted question to Reamer asked if she could provide even one time she voted against Fletcher on any one issue. I further asked, don't community values and opinions matter? She never answered that question, so there. On the monkeypox issue, the matter of fact is there's no life-threatening emergency. If someone gets tuberculosis, for example, which is far more prevalent and dangerous, we report it to the public health, but we don't declare it an emergency. The emergency is all political charade to continue stoking the climate of fear.
Next speaker, please.
I used the name Michael. Good morning. It's hard to believe that it's been 1 year since these chambers and all of the rooms up and down the hallway were overflowing. That was a remarkable occasion. Please know I'm not endorsing this trash newspaper, the San Diego Union Tribune, owned by a big pharma injection maker who also owns the Los Angeles Times. You know, this paper was central, among other things, to make sure this counterfeit pandemic got lodged in the psyches of people and terrified them to death. There was a headline they did put, it says, "County Board Speakers spar over medical misinformation." And it's been amazing to see that the misinformation and the lies for the last year, Nathan, have not just been relegated to health, all the lies around health, but it extrapolates into all kinds of areas. And it seems to always revolve around the misuse of language. Language is a beautiful thing. It can be used to communicate, it can be used to connect people, and it can be used to deceive. And we've seen a lot of that. It's really sad to see some of you up here, because I can actually imagine you being a different version of yourself, one that is not aligned with evil. But still, many of you continue to promote the evil, and no one is going away, even though it's virtually empty here. We're watching.
Next speaker, please.
Username Audra. You guys are so good for your awards. It's so great. You do so good at killing people, destroying lives, you know, just ruining everything in San Diego, and you guys get awards for it. Oh my God. You guys are so great. It's so awesome. I just really appreciate that. Like that you guys, you know, work so hard to just destroy all that's beautiful and good. All while you're acting like you're not. That's great. Can I give you guys some money? Do you want it? Oh wait, you already take it, that's right. But you know, it's just kind of funny because everything that you guys do is like the globalist agenda, right, Nathan? Isn't that treason? I don't know. Is it? It's not? Okay, yeah, nobody knows that, right? Because everybody in here, it's all quid pro quo. Let me scratch your back, and you'll scratch mine, and I'll scratch yours, and it's gonna be so great. But you guys don't actually do anything good. It's like you sit there and you pretend, and you're like, we're gonna take your money, and we're gonna spend it wisely. All while we ask you for more money and force you to get a jab. And that's what's so weird, Jim. You're like, next time there's an actual emergency, people aren't gonna buy it. That means this is bullshit. These emergencies that you keep us in, and then you say that it should be a choice to get vaccinated, but then you're like, but if you're not vaccinated, you should test weekly. That's like, do you want to jump off the cliff or get hit by a bus? But you have a choice, right? You guys are so great.
Thank you. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. Again, we'll be hearing from the first 5 callers. The remaining callers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I would remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. We begin with our first caller.
Kevin Stevenson. So I'm going to say something that might surprise some of you. I'm actually not against clapping or cheering or booing in theory. In fact, at meetings, I would actually support it. However, I do not support you goons cheering because you are a goon squad who is trying to suppress all of us and impose your minority rule, unpopular bullcrap. Yeah, cheers are gone now, aren't they? Anyways, moving on. So I just want to address some of the nonsense that was just said. So Audra is convinced that the next time we have a pandemic, no one is going to believe it exists. Well, I mean, if she's referring to her goon squad of conspiracy theorists and grifters, then yeah, I totally agree that they might not believe it, or they'll actively deny that it exists. But for the majority of Americans, yeah, I've got news for you, Audra. Most of us do not watch Fox News garbage. Most of us do not read up on conspiracy theories on 4chan. Most of us do not get brainwashed by fascists and authoritarians. Most people in this country, as hard as it may be to believe sometimes, are good people. I don't care if you criticize a politician. You know, we could discuss the merit of whether it's a valid criticism or not. You know, feel free. I don't care. But while we're discussing the merit of those criticisms, every single criticism that I've heard from you right-wingers is invalid because it's based on nonsense. No, vaccines are not killing people. No, people's lives have not been completely ruined over the last 2 years under this board's leadership.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Barbara Gordon. While the harmful health effects of secondhand tobacco smoke exposure and the benefits of smoke-free policies are well known, we also know that cannabis smoke is chemically like tobacco smoke, and exposures is known cause of cardiopulmonary and metabolic disease. Smoking, vaping, and dabbing of cannabis inside a dispensary or consumption lounges all release aerosols, including fine particulate matter, which penetrate the lungs. In a new study published in the Environmental Health Perspective, researchers from the UC San Francisco reported that smoked cannabis concentrates were 28 times higher in consumption lounges. Because the concentrates were so high, employees and customers are at risk of health effects from the second-hand cannabis smoke exposure. Cannabis smoke contains carcinogens, which has important public health and policy implications. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Air Quality Index for this amount of air pollution is unhealthy. There will be negative health effects of the heart and lungs and premature mortality in persons with cardiopulmonary disease and increased respiratory effects in the general public. The cannabis industry has an interest in creating a regulatory environment which maximizes profits at the cost of public health, like the tobacco and alcohol industry has done. It's imperative as a public health advocate to educate policymakers and the public about the cannabis industry's well-funded lobbyist activity that aim to promote their profits over public well-being. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
This is Peggy Walker. As a public health policy advocate, I'd like to point out some invalid points in the marijuana tax measure ballot statement passed recently for November's ballot. That statement promises a safe and adult market, yet there's nothing safe about products engineered to 80% or more potency and marketed directly to children as child-appealing candy, snacks, and flavored vapes. The argument promises black market crackdown, yet even Governor Newsom opines the black market is a persistent problem statewide. It remains unsolved because there will always be competition to a legal market. Supervisors push this measure as a social equity tax. In fact, though, the language says tax revenues will go to the general fund for things like, quote, parks, fire safety, and roads. Yet there's no guarantee to what degree, if any, those funds will go directly or adequately to support rural, unincorporated county regions where marijuana businesses are located. This support could and should include rapid law enforcement response, swift attention to physical and mental health care treatment, and comprehensive attention to environment protection and the defense of community and beyond. For those same reasons, 70% of California's cities and counties avoid the commercialization of marijuana businesses, avoid their predatory advertising, and high THC products. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Thank you, God. This is Truth. NACO, helping usurp local government by telling our representatives what to implement to get federal funds. So today, I want to honor a day that will forever be remembered in San Diego County. That day is August 31st, 2021, and the meeting that occurred. We had Audra pointing out that the COVID agenda item 19 was put out 3 minutes too late, past the required deadline, in complete violation of the rules of procedure. We had Nathan saying this.
And so if you agree with someone and you all want to chair and the first person speaking is fine with that, then that's fine.
Hold on, I might have to play that again. Let me try that again.
And so if you agree with someone and you all want to chair and the first person speaking is fine with that, then that's fine.
Okay. We also had Nathan saying that he believes in the mask and the vaccines. Not that he knows they work, just that he believes. We had Tara not even present for the crucial vote. So Nathan actually called her personal cell phone in order to get her yes vote. And she responded like the puppet she is. At the end of the day, Nathan, you also let Audra speak past her time. Do you remember having compassion for her tears that day? I hope you can allow yourself that feeling more often. And I remember Melissa Grace giving everything she had left of herself to try and gracefully articulate all of the emotions that long day. So I want to give credit to all the people who took off work, had to bring their children with them, literally sacrificed their entire day from 6 a.m. to the next day at 1 in the morning. They were hungry, tired, and emotionally exhausted, but made their voices heard in support of freedom. No one will remember the garbage media propaganda from the week before, but everyone will forever in history remember the strength of the people of San Diego County on August 31st, 2021. Thank you all.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the final caller this morning.
Good morning. Kathleen Lippeth here. My goal with others who've worked to provide information, data, and research. We continue to be concerned over the board's decision to allow unincorporated communities to become home to commercialization, increased use, and normalization of marijuana in those communities. We've shared only the most trustworthy, respected, venerable, and nationally recognized sources. Stanton Glantz from the UC San Francisco School of Medicine and renowned tobacco and marijuana researcher is one of those expert sources. He recently exposed the marijuana industry's corporate social responsibility strategies, which mirror Big Tobacco's campaign of misdirection and misinformation. Diversion strategies such as affirmative action, social and racial justice were created as smokescreens to avoid having a spotlight shown on their predatory marketing of dangerous products. Their political lobbying managed to scrap SB 1097, a reasonable legislation that would have required warning labels on marijuana products and in advertising. Without robust counter-messaging of public health, the public will be unable to see through these smokescreens and appreciate the constellation of harms: epidemic youth use, increased traffic deaths, hospitalizations, mental health problems that all continue to be ignored. By continuing to ignore the mountain of ongoing documentation of research-based evidence of the harms resulting from marijuana commercializations, all the problems that you claim to care about will worsen in the public health arena. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you. For the remaining callers that requested to speak on a matter not listed on the agenda, please hang up and call back at the conclusion of the session. Chair Fletcher, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the statement of proceedings minutes of the regular Board of Supervisors meeting August 16, 2022, and the special meeting of August 9, 2022. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Motion by myself, second by Vice Chair Vargas. Please vote.
Chair Fletcher, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We'll now proceed with the formation of the consent calendar. Members of the public will have an opportunity to comment on items on consent after supervisors have had the chance to make any remarks or to move any items from consent to the discussion calendar. Supervisor Anderson, we'll start with you. Are there any items you wish pulled or comments you wish to make?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer. Supervisor Desmond.
None. I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
All right. Vice Chair Vargas.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. I'm happy to second the motion, but I did want to mention 2 items. I think item 9 is critical in shaping innovative ways the county can step and support currently disadvantaged communities. I wanted just to say thank you to the county team for all their work and their efforts, particularly because what this is going to do is really support organizations that are led by community members, especially our communities of color, and there are organizations that are trusted by the community. So I'm really thrilled. So again, thank you to the county team for working so much on this and doing such a great job. And then on item 10, having read the report from the grand jury, I wanted to say thank you for their oversight of government operations within the region and for the recommendations that they made, particularly the issue that was raised around county water reclamation program, which I'm really looking forward to uplifting as we move forward with that. Like I said, I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So we have a motion by Supervisor Desmond, seconded by Vice Chair Vargas. Let me ask the clerk to call forward any public speakers on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Before I call the public speakers, I would like to note for the record that agenda item number 11 on the consent agenda is a second reading and final adoption of an ordinance amending the compensation ordinance and establishing compensation for specified represented and unrepresented employees. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, prior to taking final action, the legislative body shall orally report a summary of a recommendation for final action on the salaries, salary schedules, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of local agency executives. Today's recommendation includes an increase to the salary range for the Chief Medical Examiner and Deputy Chief Medical Examiner. If adopted by the board, the new annual salary range for the Chief Medical Examiner will be a minimum of $292,635.20 and a maximum of $444,454.40. And the new annual salary range for the Deputy Chief Medical Examiner will be a minimum of $240,801.60 and a maximum of $385,777.60. With that oral report, this item may remain on consent. We have 10 individuals requesting to speak on items on the consent calendar, 4 in person and 6 requesting to speak by phone. Any members of the public that requested to speak on the consent items, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. All speakers are in opposition to the consent items. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals. I'd like to invite forward Mike Borello, Audra, Michael Brando, and Paul Henkin. You may come forward in any order. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please identify which consent item you're speaking on.
Yes. Hi, Paul Henkin. First, I'd like to make a point of personal privilege that I object to being called a member of the Goon Squad, and I expect a public apology.
Mr. Henkin, non-agenda comments, however, please direct your comments to the consent calendar.
I called a point of personal privilege.
Yeah, there's no point of personal privilege here. Speak to the consent calendar or we'll forfeit your time.
The agenda says it's important that employees hired through the public health grant relief reflect the community it serves. And then it breaks them down. Approximately 72% of the positions are 34% Asian, 30% Hispanic, 4% Black, 2% Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander. This is crazy. If hospitalized, I would rather have medical personnel chosen by skill rather than ethnicity. And choosing workers by ethnicity rather than skill may result in more malpractice actions. Let's see, I see my time's up. Why at the last meeting did you renew the COVID state of local emergency that you knew you had expired?
Mr. Hankin, you're off topic. Please
no
please
answer.
refrain your comments to
Nathan,
the
this
consent
is your
calendar.
second warning. Wilman, Nor, and Tara, this is your first. Jim, you were right. COVID is no emergency. Let's see, Equity Impact Grant Program. We want businesses that can survive on their own, be strong, be productive by themselves, and not be drained on county resources with this silly BIPOC
Thank you.
grant.
Next speaker, please.
Use the name Audrey. You're such an asshole, Nathan. It's crazy. Were you bullied as a kid? Or do you get bullied now and so you have to bully everybody else? I don't know. But so AB 389 already came to you guys with this saying that all these mobile medical units are a problem. The fact that that's becoming something in our livelihoods is terrifying. And that you're just vaccinating people with those, using those. And your ARPA funds. Jim, right? I mean, you wouldn't get the money if you didn't have the emergency, right? I mean, you wouldn't get to spend that $1.2 million. I mean, why would you? I mean, that's just, right? I mean, and Nathan, I mean, but you're using it for PCR testing training and stuff like that, so good on you. Yeah, keep us in emergency to, wow, it's such a joke. But I would like to see about applying for the grant funding that you guys are doing for people working in social and racial injustice. So I have an organization, and I would love to see if I could apply for that. Or would that not work out? Would you guys probably would deny it, right? Because it's not in the line with you, because it actually is trying to stop what you're doing. So I'd like to know where to get an application, because I'm gonna prove I'm right. Yeah, and the grand jury reports. Too bad the one for the elections isn't in there. Because you guys, those machines are gonna be gone, just so you know. We probably won't have an election in November because of it. And Nathan, you won't be there. It'll be so great. It'll be so great, because you're not gonna be able to bully people like you do. I don't know what you're gonna do. You probably look in the mirror and just be like, I am so fantastic. I'm so great. I do such a good job. I do my own reviews, and every time they're fantastic.
And time is up. Next speaker, please.
It's Mike Borello. I'm going to talk on agenda item number 6. Kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. Written in today's agenda, quote, the County of San Diego is fortunate to have an opportunity to reinvest taxpayer money into our communities for the benefit of the public. This action will assist the county in meeting the needs of the community, unquote. Hold everything, please. I have questions. Reinvest my tax money? Our tax money? Did I vote for this reinvestment? Not that I recall. For the benefit of the public? In what manner? How was this assessed? Where is the oversight? Let me translate what's actually being written in the agenda. The county is colluding with the federal government in a socialist redistribution of nearly $600,000 of our tax money to 27 entities Nathan Fletcher selected and allegedly justified according to his personal sense of equity. Entries Nathan Fletcher believes are less fortunate and needier than the San Diego County residents from which these taxes were robbed under decree of an emergency order that has no expiration date. License to steal. ARPA, guess the more accurate acronym is America's Redistribution of People's Assets. Here's another question. How many votes will this garner, Mr. Nathan Fletcher, using our tax money is in November? I call it graft.
Next speaker, please.
I used the name Michael, and I'm addressing also number 6 that Mike Borrello just addressed, but from a different point of view. It has to do with the equity impact statements and the misuse of language. The misuse of language that this board is involved in. The equity impact statement says organizations are chosen based on underserved communities, and it names an alleged community, LGBTQ plus community. Eric McDonald, that so-called doctor that's normally here in the face scam, he even added to that and called it the LGBTQ plus MSM community, men who have sex with men community. I want to address this whole idea of community. There is no LGBTQ community. You know, I like to come here and recommend books for Helen and every one of you to read, and also for you, Andrew, since you're involved in this issue as well. This is an excellent book. It's called Out of the Shadows: Reimagining Gay Men's Lives. The author is Walt Odets. He's a psychotherapist. He actually, along with his clients, realized there is no coherent community. By saying there's this kind of community here, it's assuming there's a heterosexual community. Well, where is it? Where is the heterosexual community? There's no coherency involved in this. And this all ties back to all of these other misuses of language that this board is involved in. The gift in this is that people are waking up and have basically rendered yourself irrelevant, and that's going to accelerate as things go on. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted, and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Begin with our first caller.
Truth. Item 4 is over $14 million in future public health state funding for the future, where everyone's stuck in multiple eternal emergencies that only benefit the COVID check collectors and money-pox monkey business sideshows like Wilma Wonka and the Supervisors. Item 6 is Nathan spending almost $300,000, including $10,000 to Biocom Institute, whose board of directors includes Joseph Panetta, who worked for the EPA and with the UN, Joydeep Ganguly of Gilead Sciences, who made the toxic remdesivir drug, and Jens Vogel of Bayer. Item 7 is Jim spending about $1,230,000, including $20,000 for a country hoedown. Item 9 mentions racial reckoning. Let's call a spade on this and translate the Equity Impact Grant Program as a racist, socialist arm to fund radical entities in education, media, safety, health, etc., all based on an easily discredited conspiracy theory of systemic injustices. I look forward to the day when you supervisors can quit being racist. Item 10 is about toxic reclaimed water. Grand jury finding 1 says, quote, PR is not improving public and political support for wastewater reuse as potable water. County response. The CAO, Helen, disagrees. The wastewater collected from East County residents and businesses by 2025 is expected to provide 30% of the local drinking water. Messaging is being used to socialize concepts. Item 11 is almost $16 million extra in annual costs because these supervisors have put handcuffs on the sheriffs while letting the criminals go free and demanding sheriffs, nurses, and clinicians get experimental toxic COVID shots.
Thank you. And Chair Fletcher, that concludes public comment on the items on the consent calendar.
We have a motion by Supervisor Desmond, seconded by Vice Chair Vargas, to approve the items on consent calendar. Please vote.
Chair Fletcher, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We'll begin with our first agenda item 14, establishing an agriculture and livestock pass program in the County of San Diego. This was originally brought to us by Supervisors Anderson and Desmond. I'll ask them if they'd like to make any introductory comments, and then we'll go to staff for their presentation.
No, I don't have any introductory. I'd like to speak afterwards, but let's hear the staff presentation. Thank you.
Perfect. We will let staff get settled in and turn it over to them for their presentation.
Good morning, Chair Fletcher and members of the board. On March 15th, the board provided direction to explore the feasibility of developing an agricultural pass program, receive input from departments, agencies, and stakeholders, and report back in 180 days with a plan to implement this program if feasible. Before the board today is a phased approach for implementing an agricultural pass program. The devastating wildfires over the past 2 decades not only impacted the safety of residents, but agriculture and livestock operators were also forced to flee their properties. With agriculture and livestock representing critical sectors of our local economy, the proposed program will enhance the sustainability of these businesses. We certainly want evacuation orders to be followed when needed, and we're hopeful that an agricultural pass will give ranchers and farmers the assurances they need that they'll be able to get back to to tend their crops and their livestock when the threat has diminished. Joining me today is Jeff Collins, Director of County Fire, and Chief Tony Meacham. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jeff Collins for additional detail.
Thank you, Holly. Good morning, Chair Fletcher, members of the board. As presented to you today, the Ag Pass would allow commercial agriculture and livestock operators access to restricted areas to care for crops and animals. Pass holders will be limited to the moving, feeding, and providing veterinary care of livestock or work on irrigation systems, farm equipment, and other essential infrastructure. The pass would allow law enforcement and fire officials to identify pass holders at roadblocks and inside the evacuation area. Only fire and law enforcement can make the decision for entry, which will be based on fire behavior for the safety of the pass holders. Holding a pass doesn't authorize an individual to ignore evacuation orders, and it doesn't guarantee access. As demonstrated in this chart, other counties have already established some form of an agriculture or livestock pass. There is inconsistency with what type of operation is allowed and the restrictions that are in place. Some counties don't include both agriculture and livestock. Some have a minimum number of livestock or property size, and some restrict the pass to managerial employees. AB 1103 is specifically for livestock and became effective on January 1st of this year. It brought forward standards if counties choose to implement a program. Under AB 1103, the pass is only for commercial operators and managerial employees. Managerial employees can't be required to obtain a livestock pass and is limited to the sheltering, moving, feeding, watering, and caring for livestock. This slide shows the collaboration between county departments and outside agencies and stakeholder organizations. County Fire, CAL FIRE, the Sheriff's Department, Ag Weights and Measures, the Office of Emergency Services, and Animal Services all contributed to this effort. Stakeholder meetings included the Farm Bureau, the Cattlemen's Association, UC Cooperative Extension, the Flower and Plant Association, and individual ranchers. Collaboration was essential in developing the programs before the board today, and based on the input, we are proposing a phased approach. The initial phase would include commercial cattle and equine operators, which is a more manageable number that could be quickly addressed with existing resources. We will be able to evaluate the process and impacts and return to the board prior to full implementation. Full implementation is targeted for next fiscal year, which would include all commercial livestock and agriculture operators in the unincorporated area. Outreach to the cities would occur to determine interest in opting into the program. As noted in this chart, the approximate number of potential applicants is 125 for phase 1 and 4,000 for phase 2. This slide gives a sample of what the pass will look like, which we will issue after completion of the training or the refresher training. The application will include an agreement to indemnify and hold the county harmless. Pass holders will not be authorized to perform structural fire protection, and as mentioned before, they will be limited to the carrying or moving of animals or tending to crops and essential infrastructure. AB 1103 was very specific that the pass is for operators and managerial employees, and it spelled out the criteria for a managerial employee. We will be following that criteria, which means the individual must have management authority and duties and has responsibility to oversee the well-being of livestock and ag culture, and earns a monthly salary of at least 2 times the state minimum wage for full-time employment. Additional protections have been included to better safeguard and manage your employees that choose to apply for the pass. Employers must submit an emergency plan and insurance coverage, provide masks and PPE, and provide employee-requested post-exposure health screenings. I will now turn the presentation over to Chief Meacham.
Thank you, Jeff. Fire safety training is an essential component for the Ag Pass program. Although the immediate threat has diminished when approval is given for the Ag Pass access, we still want individuals to be as safe as possible. Statewide curriculum is being developed by the State Fire Marshal, but we don't expect it will be completed until late next year. For the time being, we have an exceptional 4-hour training on fire safety, fire behavior and weather, incident organization, communications, and evacuation orders. The training will be available in both English and Spanish. We are prepared to host a training this fall during the first phase, then annually hold trainings in the spring of each year. A required refresher training will be required for recertification. This slide demonstrates how the pass will work during an incident. Once a disaster strikes and life and property are facing a significant threat, evacuation orders are given. This is known as a hard closure, and Ag Pass holders must also evacuate. When the immediate threat diminishes, we transition to a soft closure, which typically allows utilities to assess an evacuated area. A decision would be made by incident command staff to allow Ag Pass access, and a notification would go out from the Office of Emergency Services to the pass holders. Pass holders would gain access by showing the pass at a roadblock, and law enforcement at each roadblock would make the final determination on access. Ag Pass access will be limited to daylight hours only. This slide shows the responsibilities of each department. County Fire and CAL FIRE will receive the applications, provide the training, and issue the pass. The Sheriff's Department will manage roadblock access along with the California Highway Patrol and other law enforcement agencies. Ag Weights and Measures will review and verify supporting documentation for applications and return applications to County Fire. Office of Emergency Services will provide notifications during the incident to Ag Pass holders once access has been approved. And Animal Service still has the existing responsibility for coordinating emergency animal response. I'll now turn the presentation back to Holly.
Thank you, Chief Meacham. To summarize the key actions today, the board would find that the Ag Pass program is exempt from CEQA and adopt a resolution to establish the program. The initial phase of commercial cattle and equine operations would be implemented in September, and we will return to the board before full implementation next fiscal year. And that concludes our presentation, subject to your questions.
Thank you. Thank you to Holly, Jeff, and our fire chief. We appreciate all the work on this. Let me go offer Supervisor Desmond and Anderson if you'd like to make some comments before public comment, or if you'd prefer to wait till after.
Either one.
All right, let's hear from our public speakers, and then we'll come back to Supervisor.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 8 total requests to speak on item 14, 2 in person and 6 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 11 e-comments, 10 in favor and 1 in opposition. Any members of the public that requested to speak on item 14 by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. Both speakers are in opposition to this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. I'd like to invite forward Audra and Paul Hinken. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record.
Use the name Audra. So, love it. Asking for permission to go save your property. Super weird. Super weird that people actually have to do that. And then are you guys going to pick and choose who gets those? So it's like, I don't really like them. I'm going to let their property burn. I'm going to do that. But I'm going to save these ones because they, invest in us, and they're, some of our special interest people, the quid pro quo. But it's just sad because it's like the fact that people think that they need to ask for permission. I mean, I would just drive through the roadblock, I don't know, to save my property. But then I'd probably be arrested, right? Trying to save my own property. Just like if you speak, you can get arrested. If you clap, you can get arrested. If you don't follow the board's rules, you can get arrested, right? Let's just keep asking for permission. Like I said, is it okay if I go to the bathroom today? I'm just wondering if you guys will allow that. Is that it? Yeah? Or should I just go drink toilet water? Because I mean, that's what we're giving people, right? It's good. Everything you guys do is so great. It's fantastic. It's so wonderful. Yeah, totally is. Is it okay if I stand here? Can I flatulate? I don't know. I was wondering, can I go get some coffee? Do you think that's okay? I don't know if I want cream in it. Will you guys tell me which to do? Should I put sugar in it? Toilet water? Oh, cricket flour, yeah. There we go, we got crickets too, so I'll eat some bugs.
Next speaker, please.
Hi, Paul Hinken. You have a great way with words. After all this hoopla about giving farmers a special pass so they can access their property in an emergency, you say the holder of an ag pass shall not have the right to access property during or following a flood, storm, fire, earthquake, or other disaster. Such access may be denied in the discretion of the incident commander, law enforcement official having jurisdiction, or their designee. So the disaster doesn't even have to be ongoing. In their discretion, it's a recipe for abuse. I'm sure that safety will always be part of their thinking, but that is always the excuse for most government actions, no matter who gets harmed. If there is a raging fire, the property owner probably knows the risks of reentry better than anyone. Maybe he or she has an emergency shelter not on the maps. Paying for this is also kind of shady. The agenda says the cost for the full implementation of the AgPass program will vary by department. Can't you guys come up with an estimate? Or does it depend on how many budget overruns the fees have to pay for? Thanks for your attention.
Thank you. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. Again, any members of the public that requested to speak by phone on item 14, please dial into the conference line. We'll begin with our first caller.
Truth. Audra's always pointing out discriminations in these items. Isn't it great? This item's equity impact statement says, quote, California is known for its volatile fire season, a time when wildfires tend to rage across the state, end quote. This is hilarious for two reasons. One, it's sad that California is known for its constant fires. And two, it seems that California's famous wildfire season is all year round due to the wild arsonists that plague this state. This item says owners of commercial agriculture and livestock operations who may become ag pass holders would then be the only ones allowed to return to their own property during incidents, but only if deemed as safe at the decision of incident command and the law enforcement official at the roadblock. It sounds rather Nazi-ish. How can people preserve their livelihoods and 12,000 agriculture jobs, like the item says, if the farmers and ranchers have to beg for permission, then pay for approval of that permission in the form of an ag pass, and then wait for that pass card to be approved? How can people in the unincorporated areas protect their animals and crops with such overregulation and restrictions in their way? The item also mentions that a fee will not be charged to recover full operating costs for the services provided, at least during the first phase of the program. How reassuring to know that people will be charged even more money in the future to have access to their own property during an emergency incident. It sounds like another county government emergency incident of negatively affecting our once resilient food system and thus potentially starving us all. It doesn't sound good. It sounds like a money and control grab.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Misha, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm totally against this plan. We have enough restrictions on farmers to do their work. We don't need any more restrictions. It seems like the local government seems a little bit inflated. There's a lot of different programs that are implemented. Don't you guys have anything better to do than to implement these fucked up programs for farmers? It's like, let them do their job. They're connected with the land. They know what's going on, probably more than your policymakers do. Leave them the hell alone. And don't make it look like this is a benevolent action. This is more restriction, more red tape, more oversight on farmers who need to be left alone. And we don't need any of this. Quit putting these extra things. It's hard to do business in California. We're inflated with restrictions here. And people have to pay for this, remember? I'm done.
And Chair Fletcher, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thanks, Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. And I'm really happy that this is being brought forward today and all the work that staff did on this. And this is important. Supervisor Anderson and myself brought this forward, and we cover much of the unincorporated area. And we hear a lot from the farmers and the Farm Bureau and the cattle ranchers and people who have horses. And I think this is a definite good move forward with this Ag Pass. And as you in your presentation pointed out, it's going to provide limited access during a wildfire or other emergency to restricted areas so that farmers can care for their agricultural assets, such as irrigating, feeding animals, or even transporting livestock in and out. And to be clear, an Ag Pass is not an automatic entry into an emergency area. It's always going to be up to the emergency personnel on the scene to grant or deny access into the restricted areas. And know that this is before the general public is being able to get back in. And know that farmers and livestock owners could not go in until the general population was allowed back in. And so this gives them an opportunity to come in sooner while it's safe, but when it's maybe not safe enough yet for the general public. So I appreciate the phased-in approach. It's going to allow the livestock and equine commercial operators to get their passes in September, hopefully get ahead of the fire season. And then agriculture provides over about 12,000 jobs in San Diego County. It's an economic impact of just about $2 billion here in the county. And unfortunately, I've heard stories prior to bringing this forward during emergencies where farmers or ranchers decided to remain and on their property to protect their assets because they feared they would not be able to get back in time to care for their crops or their animals. So we want everybody to be safe. And implementing this Ag Pass program could potentially encourage more people to evacuate, knowing that they may be able to get in sooner than the general population to care for their assets, to care for their livestock, and in the future than for the crops and things like that as well. So I want to thank our county fire, the sheriffs, the Office of Emergency Services, Jeff Collins there with the county fire, Ha Dang from the Weights and Measures for this program, and I really want to offer the support to the agricultural community who weighed in on this as well. So the Ag Pass has proven to be successful in many other counties, and I encourage my colleagues to support this effort and get this implemented here so we can safeguard our asset, this agricultural entity here and all the assets that they bring in jobs to our community. So I'd like to give Supervisor Anderson a chance.
All right. Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. Through the chair, am I good to go? Go for it. All right, thanks. I've lived in the unincorporated area most of my life. During the Cedar and Witch Creek fires, this was a huge, huge issue for those people living in the backcountry. And Supervisor Desmond, I just want to thank you for your leadership. We should have had this a long time ago, and I'm glad that you brought this forward. With that, I'd like to second your motion.
Okay. Next, motion to
Thank you.
Thanks.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Thank you. I wanted to say thank you to my colleagues for bringing this item forward. I think there are actually a couple of entities in my district that will be able to benefit from this, so I'm excited about that. I just had one question or clarification. I actually think the Ag Pass program is a great program in general, and is there a way to model something like that for those that are not commercial? Because I was thinking about the number of people who own horses and different stock in areas like the Otay Valley where it's not just fire, but water and inundation and some other things. And so I'm just wondering if there's anything in place like that. And I don't know, maybe we can work on something in the future, but I mean, because I think this is a wonderful thing for commercial owners, but I also think that, I can't imagine leaving my horses somewhere I don't have any, but I'm just saying if I own them, what that's like. And I know there's plans, maybe a database so that we know who they are and all that. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Maybe at some other point.
Yeah. Any thoughts? Are you aware of anything for non-commercial?
Yeah, Supervisor, if I could just add a few comments. I think one of the things that we have learned through all of the fire activity is that the greatest thing that we can do during any emergency is get people back to their homes as quickly as possible. Yeah. So we've changed our whole mindset towards really focusing on getting people back home sooner. But I need to remind everybody that has animals, it is their responsibility to have an evacuation plan for their animals. Our Department of Animal Services works incredibly close with us during natural disasters. And we are committed on a case-by-case basis to having either animal services or fire law enforcement entities try and check on animals during that. I certainly think it's something that we can look at. But it's very difficult to define where is that. Is it one animal? Is it 4 animals? And so we would just encourage people to plan on the eventuality that they're going to be evacuated for a short period of time and trust in us that we're going to do everything we can to get those residents back as quickly, because that's really the answer, is get people home sooner.
Okay. All right, I'm going to look into that a little bit more. Go ahead.
Well, I had that same question during this process, is, what about people who just have, a dozen horses or something like that? It's not a commercial operation. But I think this is a good phased approach. If starting out, we got 125 that will come back next year with all of ag, and maybe then some other, we can build on it and learn lessons learned, I guess, going through this process. So I agree with that. But
thank you. Happy to support.
Thank you. I appreciate all the work that went into this. Obviously, when we're facing a fire or disaster, it's really important the public follow the direction of our first responders, law enforcement and fire. They're designed to put out the fire to save lives, do everything they can to save structures, along with allowing them to effectively fight the fire and not have to divert those efforts for people who decline to evacuate, which can be a tremendous drag on our public safety resources and put our first responders in more immediate harm and danger than they need to. At the end of the day, it is about saving lives. Structure is valuable and structure is important, but it's still stuff, and the lives are what we save, and I appreciate all the work doing, and I think this is a great balance. I also appreciate the intentional efforts around ensuring these are management that go back, that we're not in a situation we are sending farm workers back into potentially dangerous situations, so I appreciate that caveat on that. So please to support and appreciate this being brought forward. We have a motion by Supervisor Desmond, seconded by Supervisor Anderson. Please vote.
Chair Fletcher, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We're going to agenda item number 15, Emergency Services, adoption of the updated County of San Diego Operational Area Emergency Operations Plan. And we'll turn it over to staff for their presentation.
Good morning again, Chair Fletcher and members of the board. San Diego County is no stranger to disasters, both natural and human-caused. On FEMA's Natural Hazard Risk Index, we rank 16th out of 3,142 counties nationwide for vulnerability to natural disasters. In the past 3 years alone, we have responded to numerous wildfires, flooding, civil unrest, the COVID-19 pandemic, a pipeline oil spill, and a tsunami advisory. Investments made by your board over the years in staffing, resources, equipment, and technology have made our county a national leader in all phases of emergency management. To ensure operational readiness, emergency planning is essential. Today, we are proud to present to the board the Operational Area Emergency Operations Plan, which is a foundational document that outlines county and external partner roles and responsibilities during emergencies. With me today is the Director of the Office of Emergency Services, Jeff Toney, who will provide a more in-depth overview of the Emergency Operations Plan. Jeff?
Thank you very much, Holly. The emergency plan is used by the county and all cities within the county to respond to major emergencies and disasters. It describes the roles and responsibilities of all county departments and the relationship between the county and outside jurisdictions within the county. It provides a framework for coordination, including the incident command system and the standardized emergency management system. The plan also ensures that maintenance of facilities, services, and resources are in a state of readiness and clarifies overall responsibilities for the protection of life, property, and the environment. Both the county's Code of Regulatory Ordinances and the State of California's Emergency Services Act require that the county establish and maintain our emergency plan. The emergency plan consists of an executive summary and basic plan that provides a high-level overview of agency authorities, roles, and responsibilities during emergencies. It also contains 16 functional annexes. Some examples include emergency management, fire and law enforcement operations, county departmental operations, care and shelter, and evacuation. It's important to note these annexes are not meant to be tactical in nature. The Office of Emergency Services keeps dozens of planning documents such as standard operating procedures, hazard-specific concept of operations documents, and functional checklists that provide more tactical detail. The emergency plan is the regional document that provides structure, describes cross-jurisdictional coordination, and clarifies agency roles and actions during emergencies. The Office of Emergency Services is responsible for updating the emergency plan every 4 years. Working with internal and external stakeholders, a thorough review of the plan is conducted, and the plan is updated to reflect new policies and changes in operations, organizational changes, incorporation of new resources and technologies, and lessons learned from recent disasters and exercises. OES also ensures that the plan complies with all state and federal requirements in order to be eligible for state and federal funding related to disaster preparedness, response, and recovery. This slide lists the stakeholders involved in the emergency plan revision. We took a whole community approach and included not only government partners, but also non-governmental organizations, people with access and functional needs, businesses, and the general public. We'd also like to thank the Governor's Office of Emergency Services and the Unified Disaster Council for reviewing our plan and for their recommendations. As part of FEMA's Emergency and Hazard Mitigation Plan update requirements, OES conducted a community engagement survey to identify region-wide threats and to help support personal disaster preparedness. The survey was provided to the public in 6 threshold languages and advertised by County Communications Office, also on the OES website and our social media accounts. County OES also shared the community engagement survey via the Partner Relay, Diversity and Inclusion Champions, the Employee Resource Groups, Human Relations Commission, and the Persons with Disabilities Committee. In total, OES received 500 survey responses and held an online public forum to review the results. Our public forum also complies with Senate Bill 160 that requires counties to provide a forum for engagement in culturally and geographically diverse communities within its jurisdiction. We asked the public what they viewed as their highest and second highest threat to their neighborhoods, and the results were consistent. 49% of survey respondents said that wildfire is the highest threat to their neighborhood. 30% of survey respondents said earthquake is the second highest threat to their neighborhood. Fire maintained a high position even as a second threat. Overall, the top 5 threats identified were fire, earthquake, climate change, drought, and extreme heat. OES incorporated recommendations from the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services Office of Access and Functional Needs to ensure consistency with best practices and guidance related to addressing the needs of vulnerable populations. OES also collaborated with the Office of Equity and Racial Justice to incorporate equity, diversity, and inclusion principles into the emergency plan. This aligns with our commitment to achieving and fostering an emergency management system that uses a whole community approach and is fully inclusive of individual needs and circumstances. The plan also complies with California Government Code 8593, which requires government agencies to integrate cultural competence into its emergency plan. The Partner Relay Network is a key resource to help reach diverse communities and those with limited English proficiency. The emergency plan also supports the sustainability initiative of the county's 5-year strategic plan by ensuring the county's emergency response agencies are collaborative, trained, and ready to help individuals, families, and the region respond to and recover from natural and human-caused disasters. Publication of the plan is the first step in a long-term process of collecting information to guide future revisions. OES will maintain continuous improvement systems to seek, collect, and categorize information that may affect future updates. Examples include organizational changes, lessons learned, after-action reviews from exercises or actual events, and legal requirements. So what's new in the 2022 emergency plan update? Here are a few examples. The multi-casualty incident operations update included a scene size-up tool for first responders, clarified authority to activate the multi-casualty plan, updated the medical health incident command framework and the roles and responsibilities of county EMS and public health preparedness and response. The public health operations update added a more detailed description of the coordination functions of the Health and Human Services Agency in the Emergency Operations Center, the HHSA Department Operations Center, and the Public Health Medical Operations Center, or MOC. It also separated county EMS and public health roles to reflect new department structures. The evacuation update incorporated new hazard and population data to reflect those who may require transportation or sheltering assistance. It also clearly describes the decision point criteria whether to evacuate or shelter in place, temporary evacuation points and sheltering, community responsibilities, and modes of transportation. Finally, it added language to describe the community's responsibilities, such as the creation of community wildfire protection plans in collaboration with fire-safe councils, community members, fire agencies, and other interested stakeholders. After all changes were incorporated, the emergency plan was reviewed by the Unified Disaster Council and approved unanimously at their June 16th council meeting. I will now turn the presentation back over to Holly.
Thank you, Jeff. The recommendation is for the board to adopt the updated 2022 Operational Area Emergency Operations Plan as approved by the Unified Disaster Council. We'd like to thank all of the stakeholders for their time and contributions to this updated emergency plan, and that concludes our presentation, subject to your questions.
Thank you. I appreciate all the work that goes into this. As the chair of the Unified Disaster Response Council, I really appreciate all the planning and efforts that go in. You obviously hope that you never encounter one of these situations, but we know time and again it happens. And so really grateful for the entire emergency operations team and staff and everything that goes into it. Let me ask the clerk to call forward the public speakers in this item, and then we'll come back to the board for any other comments.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 7 requests to speak on item 15, 2 in person and 5 requesting to speak by phone. Also note we did not receive any e-comments on this item. For the members of the public that requested to speak by phone on item 15, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. Both speakers are in opposition to this item. As your name is called, please come forward. Audra and Paul Hankin. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board.
Use the name Audra. So it's kind of interesting to find out that saving lives and protection of life and the environment and property are the primary goals of government public safety agencies. Huh. It's interesting. And if you guys don't know what a real emergency is, it's a little terrifying that you're actually working on this, because you'd be like, oh my gosh, Nathan farted, it's an emergency. But it's just interesting because you're talking about terrorism. Well, we're being terrorized by the government. Will this help that? probably not. Hazardous materials. You guys are giving a bioweapon to people. You're injecting it into them. So are they going to look into that? Probably not, right? And because you're talking about emergencies that are human-caused, you guys are causing all the emergencies with what you're doing. You're causing death with these injections. It's a hazard. It's terrorism. But I guess you guys aren't into saving lives and protection of life or the environment, right? Because are you going to do anything about the lead at the airports? Probably not. Like that guy just came in and he's like, these children are sick. And you're like, oh, it's not an emergency. It's funny, Nathan, huh? I know. It's so funny. Because you guys don't take this seriously while you're killing people. It's very disturbing. Someone needs to look into you guys. But are you flipping me off? You just flipped me off, Nathan. Holy shit. You're so good, Nathan. You're so good. Is your meat suit itching? Is that why you twitch?
Next speaker, please.
The San Diego operational plan.
Please state. Thank you.
Paul Henkin. The agenda has no business impact statement, but you can bet that county operations will impact business in some way. So although you are supposed to be running the county, you would rather focus attention on the individuals in it and forget about what happens when the individual owns, works in, or interacts with a business. I scrolled through several annexes to see if the plan would work. It looks like the higher-ups would have some idea of which unit does what, but the plan does not say which each individual in that unit should be doing. Sounds like if this was used in an actual emergency, the right hand would have a hard time keeping up with the left hand. By the way, on one table, I noticed that a lot of aircraft, that is 1/3 to 1/2, are not currently operational. Not sure why the plan didn't address this right there. Then I also noticed on one slide there is sort of rating of emergencies by how popular they are. I mean, I object to rating emergencies by poll data. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it will work. The plan needs work. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll begin with our first caller.
Truth. This item is Helen's recommendation, huh? It talks about a unified disaster council. Who's part of this system? The Unified Disaster Council is comprised of chairperson of the County Board of Supervisors. Each participating city member jurisdiction has one vote on the council. This is what we call a form of unelected regional governance, much like a smaller version of the United Nations. What did the Unified Disaster Council's Hazardous Incident Response Team's August 18th meeting discuss recently? Lithium battery energy storage systems being, quote, most dangerous, highest risk of firefighter injury, and about lithium-ion battery fires producing very toxic atmospheres. Lithium can't be smothered, explosive potential, hydrogen gas, thermal runaway reactions, nearly impossible to stop once it starts. Reignition is common, up to 7 days later, end quote. Tomorrow's meeting about the county's decarbonization plan, pushing lithium mining with lithium-powered electric cars, solar panels, and wind turbines, means more fires that are difficult to out and that can reignite. Everyone listening better speak out against this plan tomorrow. This item also intends to align the county's emergency operations with those of other jurisdictions. And do you know why that is? One is about putting the county under unelected regional governance. And two is so, quote, the county remains eligible for future state and federal funding, end quote. Translation equals money, of course. Allow me to end on a classic quote from Joel on the topic.
Absolutely. I'm always eager to look for free money.
I hope you heard that. He's eager for free money. And Nathan responded with, got it, and there you have it.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. That concludes public comment on this item.
All right, let's go to our board members. Start with Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate this, and I really want to thank Jeff Tomey and your entire team for putting this together. It's a 500-page plan. It's very specific and voluminous, but and I know county is a big area and we need it. So, as a former mayor of San Marcos in this region, we had a catastrophic wildfire and a blaze that burned like 800 acres in our town. And so I appreciate all the coordination between the emergency services, the fire departments, law enforcement, and all the efforts put forward. The utility companies, FEMA, and all the coordination that has to take place to prevent these fires, not only prevent them, but then put them out once they start. So I really appreciate the update with this and for all your time and effort. And we just keep, I don't know if we're ever going to stop every wildfire, but we keep getting better at them, and it's to your effort, and it's appreciated. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work on particular around this, and I appreciate the fact that it's all part of the Unified Disaster Council that's really coming together. One of the things that I just want to make sure that we look at, or that council looks at as we're moving forward, there is a bottleneck that gets created on Silver Strand Beach whenever there is an evacuation or something happens in Coronado, and so it's a couple of different entities that get connected, right? So it's Coronado, the Silver Strand, then it goes to Imperial Beach and Nestor. Some may say that when an incident happens at the Coronado Bridge and somebody loses their life, it may not get to that level in terms of a disaster, but I think it actually can create some challenges. I've been stuck in Silver Strand many a times, as many of my constituents have. So I would like to make sure that, and it takes forever to get out of there, right? Because if the Coronado Bridge closes, there's no other way to get out of Coronado, and then it impacts the communities of, like I said, Nestor and the 805, and it's pretty impactful. And so I'm interested in trying to figure out what other options there are so that our communities can be, know about how do we prioritize, and then also how quickly can we get first responders into the area to help manage that traffic that takes place in that area, which is really, really impactful for South County. So, and I know that I've asked about this before, but I thought this is a perfect example, a perfect opportunity to bring it forth so it could be prioritized as part of the work.
Supervisor, you bring up a really great point about communities with limited ingress and egress and the importance of getting information to residents very quickly, whether that recommendation is shelter in place and stay where you are and not put yourself in more danger by getting on the road during a disaster, or evacuating, and what that route would be, and the criticality of coordination between the various agencies. When there are multiple law enforcement agencies who have jurisdiction over various routes, making sure that we're all talking with each other and knowing in what direction we're sending people. The 2007 fires, for example, 515,000 people were evacuated in San Diego County, the largest fire evacuation in our country's history at the time, and making sure that people were not trapped in their vehicles. Those are things that the Unified Disaster Council, the 18 cities in the county together plan for, but we hear you loud and clear, and I think that the communities that have those limited ways in and out are areas of particular focus for us as it relates to evacuation planning.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to receive and adopt the updated plan. Is there a second? Second by Vice Chair Vargas. Please vote.
Chair Fletcher, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We're going to go to agenda item 16, authorization to enter into a contract with Alvarado Hospital. As staff gets set, I want to really commend the work that is being done here that we're going to consider as a board today. It was when I first arrived here when we took the property at 3rd Avenue in Hillcrest and redesignated that as a regional behavioral health hub where we would provide a variety of acute inpatient psychiatric beds, a crisis stabilization unit, perhaps a EPU, emergency psychiatric unit, and other associated cares and programs. And the realization as we've worked through this process is it'll take a considerable amount of time to build those. Building healthcare facilities in the state of California takes time. And so an opportunity arose to partner with Alvarado, remain our very close partnership with the University of California, San Diego health system, which we appreciate and value, and bring these services online much quicker. And so the pivot of the concept of 3rd Avenue to be able to move it to Alvarado, where we can have 44 inpatient acute psychiatric beds, where we can have a crisis stabilization unit, emergency psychiatric unit, and do it exponentially faster, is a really significant benefit to the region. And then we can still take the land at 3rd Avenue and designate that towards meeting some of our highest needs, particularly those step-down boarding care, long-term care type settings. And I think there's some opportunities around how we integrate this in with what we do at Rosecrans and others that can really get us where we want to go much faster at better value to the taxpayers. And so I think this is a very appropriate pivot and change to lift and shift the concept of the regional behavioral health hub to Alvarado. And really grateful for Nick and Luke and the entire team for having the flexibility and nimbleness to move, and appreciate the partnership with Alvarado. And of course, our longstanding commitment and partnership with UC San Diego that will continue not just here, but in all that we do. So really excited to see this come forward and feel very good about what we're doing. Let me turn it over to Nick and Luke for presentation, and then we'll hear from our speakers.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher, and good morning, members of the board. Indeed, today we are requesting your authorization to enter into negotiations with Alvarado Hospital Medical Center for inpatient acute psychiatric services and emergency psychiatric and crisis stabilization services, as well as establish appropriations for the initial architectural design related to facility improvements at the medical center. With your approval, these recommendations will enable an increase in our regional capacity by adding 44 new dedicated psychiatric acute inpatient beds for individuals who are Medi-Cal eligible. These actions will advance our behavioral health continuum of care in 3 key ways, and the chair led the first one. It provides faster and better access to care for the many thousands of San Diegans experiencing serious mental illness. Secondly, provides better health for our local populations. And thirdly, creates more cost-efficient healthcare resourcing, which are all in alignment with the board's framework for our future priorities. Now, before I turn it over to Dr. Luke Bergman, our Director of Behavioral Health Services, who will walk through the proposed actions, I'd like to recognize some very important partners in the audience today. We have Ken McFarland, the CEO and Chairman of the Board for Alvarado Hospital Medical Center. We have Patty Mason, the CEO of UC San Diego Health, and Dr. Jeff Daskulakis, Professor and Chair of the Department of Psychiatry for UC San Diego School of Medicine. I appreciate you all for joining us for this important discussion. And with that, I'll turn to Dr. Bergman. Luke?
Thank you, Nick. The board has been supportive of the overarching goal of our continuum of care efforts to achieve a transformational shift from a model of care driven by crises to one driven by chronic or continuous care and prevention, and the necessary capacity building that will turn this pyramid right side up. And since we last came before your board with an update on the continuum of care, we've seen immense progress across our regionally distributed behavioral health care system. The Tri-City Psychiatric Health Facility is on track to be operational in late 2023. The mobile crisis response teams are now operational countywide, with planning underway to roll out mobile crisis response team services to school districts, colleges and universities, and tribal reservations. We have 5 operational crisis stabilization units for the adult population, the most recent of which is the North Coastal Live Well Health Center community-based CSU, and a 6th children's CSU. And at the next board hearing, we look forward to providing an update on our work to establish a CSU in the East region as well. As you can see on this map, our services are stretching farther into the region, and a robust network of inpatient care, crisis and diversionary services, long-term care, and preventive services is taking shape. In the past, we've provided updates about our collaboration with UCSD toward the establishment of the Central Region Hub on county-owned property on 3rd Avenue in Hillcrest. Today, we are updating your board with a nimble shift in strategy that enables us to establish a substantially equivalent service at much less expense and much more expediently by bringing in Alvarado Hospital as an additional and physically anchoring partner in our efforts to create a central region behavioral health hub. Locating the central region hub at Alvarado Hospital makes sense on lots of fronts. Infrastructure costs are significantly lessened because we're doing this work in an existing tower at Alvarado, built in the late 1980s, that meets seismic performance Category 4 requirements, which ensure the building will be viable for decades into the future. On a per-bed basis, necessary capital investments, mostly for ligature improvements at Alvarado, to protect against the likelihood of patient suicide, are around $500,000, just 10% of what they would be for constructing an entirely new facility from the ground up with similar licensure potential. Additionally, we can expedite the establishment of services by shaving off time that would otherwise be allocated for certain regulatory reviews, planning, and construction. Where the original 3rd Avenue hub services were estimated to launch in 4 years, we estimate that our plans for 44 new acute inpatient psychiatry beds at Alvarado will be ready to launch before the end of 2023. But maybe the most compelling aspect of this arrangement is how it impacts broader net capacity growth across the continuum of care. It does this in 2 ways. 1, by freeing up money for further reinvestment, and 2, by freeing up space to meet additional continuum of care needs. As soon as operationally feasible, our plan is to move most of the acute inpatient psychiatric care currently performed at the County Psych Hospital to this new bed capacity at Alvarado. By leveraging Alvarado infrastructure and collaborative staffing, care currently provided at the Psych Hospital at huge cost to the county can be done in a more health-integrated and substantially less costly way. And beyond cost savings will be opportunities for considerable service revenue through Medi-Cal that is not allowable at the County Psych Hospital because of its status as an institute for mental disease. With these combined cost efficiencies and revenue, the shift in service from the Psych Hospital to Alvarado will enable savings over time that will, in just a few years, entirely offset the cost of necessary infrastructure improvements in Alvarado. And in years beyond this, will create opportunities for reinvestment in the broader continuum of care. More immediately, establishing the hub at Alvarado will create opportunities to expand other continuum capacity on sites already under county control. In particular, the County Psych Hospital building on Rosecrans and the county-owned parcel on 3rd Avenue in Hillcrest, mentioned by the chair. We will return to your board on September 27th to present analyses indicating the urgency of need for different service categories across our continuum, including post-acute and long-term care. And we'll return on the 11th of October to present concrete actions that we're taking to expand capacity with these particular opportunities in view. In the meantime, I want to stress that the work that we're describing here is continuous with the clinical planning and design collaboration that we've been working on with UC San Diego Health over the last couple of years. As we have planned, UCSD will provide medical direction and clinical oversight for the clinical operations at the Central Region Hub, and will also bring clinical training capacity, innovative interventional services, and other academic activities into the fold. UC San Diego Health is also planning to invest capital in this project, so that when fully realized, the hub will include more than 60 beds, with discussions about arrayed step-down services already underway. Alvarado will be the hub's license holder and the primary operator of the service, and the county's contract for inpatient psychiatric services for Medi-Cal patients will be with Alvarado Hospital. But the county is playing other key roles in this arrangement as well. We are the driver of capital investment, and we are the primary health plan and payer working to ensure care is coordinated across the continuum for Medi-Cal enrolled patients. To illustrate the footprint of today's action, we're showing here the planned configuration that will result from the recommended actions for the Central Region Hub. Facility improvements will be primarily focused on the West Tower at Alvarado Hospital, which has been devoted for many years to providing rehabilitation services and is currently licensed as HCI-1 or acute inpatient space on the 2nd and 4th floors. The 3rd floor of the building has been recently transitioned from an inpatient rehab service to a geriatric psychiatric unit of 30 beds with all necessary ligature improvements. County staff from Behavioral Health Services and the Department of General Services have toured the building multiple times, and all have been impressed with the third floor, which is consistently filled with older adults in need of acute psychiatric care, including Medi-Cal patients, through an inpatient service contract with the county. Floors 2 and 4 currently look just like the third floor did before these recent improvements were made, which gives us something of a before and after view in forecasting what the spaces will look like after they've been improved, at which point the second floor will house 30 Medi-Cal reserved inpatient psych beds, and the fourth floor will house another 14-bed Medi-Cal reserved unit. With such a substantial inpatient psych service on site, the Central Region Hub Collaborative is also prioritizing the establishment of devoted psychiatric crisis stabilization services as well. Fortunately, the current infrastructure at Alvarado Hospital presents us with a great opportunity to make this happen. With the recent construction at Alvarado of a brand new emergency department, the former ED on the first floor of the East Tower, immediately adjacent to the new ED, is available for conversion to psychiatric emergency services. Current plans are to convert this space into a hybrid crisis stabilization unit and emergency psychiatric service, reflecting the operational model in place at the county psych hospital. Once operational, this array of services will offer a safe place for stabilization, for the provision of inpatient care to adults with acute symptoms of mental illness who need 24-hour observation and treatment, and for putting people on a surer path towards recovery. The agreement includes an initial appropriation of $3 million for the architectural design associated with facility improvements, and will return to your board in the near future with additional appropriation requests, which we estimate, including necessary improvements to the ED, to which Alvarado Hospital is also contributing, at around $28 million. Both inpatient and emergency services will be available to residents countywide, and as our operations agreement with Alvarado Hospital for this investment will come with an expectation that inpatient psych services be made accessible to Medi-Cal enrollees for 30 years from the commencement of operations, the agreement will ensure that the County of San Diego will have a provider commitment to doing behavioral health care at significant volume for many years into the future. Today's recommendations ask that the board find that the proposed actions are exempt from CEQA and request board authority to enter into a single source contract with Alvarado Hospital for inpatient acute psych services and emergency psych and crisis stabilization services for an initial term of up to 5 years, with 5-year options totaling up to an extended 30-year term. And lastly, request to establish appropriations of $3 million for architectural design related to facility improvements. Thanks, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you. And again, a really significant step forward. Concept of 3rd Avenue, lift and shift, Alvarado, an incredible partnership with UC San Diego, acute inpatient psych beds, EPU, CSU, the ability to integrate with Rose cans and potentially convert those into much needed beds, and the development of 3rd Avenue into meeting a regional need, all much faster and much quicker, and these services reserved for Medi-Cal life. So really significant effort. Let me ask the clerk to call forward the public speakers in this item, and then we'll come back to the board for any comments or questions.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 9 total requests to speak on item 16, 6 in person, and 3 requesting to speak by phone. Also note that we did not receive any e-comments on this item. Any members of the public that requested to speak on item 16 by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, beginning with those in favor of this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. I'd like to invite forward Patty Mason, Dr. Daskalakis, and Consuelo. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record.
Great, thank you so much. I'm Patty Mason, CEO of UC San Diego Health System, and good morning to the members of the board. I am thrilled and grateful to be here today to support item 16, a very, very elegant solution to a problem that we've been trying to solve for some time now. I think you all remember I was here probably almost 5 years ago now, and we imagined an elegant solution, a transformational solution for the region for mental health services. As you recall, our inpatient unit will come down in February of 2024 as a result of having to seismically upgrade our entire Hillcrest site. And so we have been looking for a solution there. We've been working with Luke and Nick and others to try to put together a solution, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hit. And despite the fact that we've been working through that pandemic together, which has stretched our resources, our focus, our financial resources, our commitment to this project has never waned. And we continued week after week to work with Dr. Bergman and trying to come up with a solution. And you know, it's been a hard journey, and here we are with something that's going to be transformational. It's going to be fast. It's going to be efficient. And the University of California is excited to continue on with our partnership and to make investments that are going to transform mental health services in the region. Dr. Daskalakis is going to talk a little bit about some of the innovations that he brings to this service. So excited to continue on in this journey with all of you, and just grateful to all of you that we're here, and we're going to make a big difference in mental health services for the community.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Daskalakis, and I'm the chair of the Department of Psychiatry at UCSD, one of the most successful departments of psychiatry across the country. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in support of item 16. I strongly support the county's efforts to expand behavioral health services. Our county is in need of services to expand patient care in behavioral health, expand access to new services, such as a crisis stabilization unit, or CSU, which was discussed this morning, which can be used to rapidly intervene with patients experiencing mental health crises and avoid long-term admission. In addition, our county needs significant expansion of inpatient beds, bridging services to help our patients in most need of care, and to help our patients effectively return to the community and have those services dovetailing with enhanced outpatient care. We also need investment in behavioral health trainees who will help to build and expand our existing workforce. I also want to add that this is one of the most exciting times in behavioral health services, with leading-edge treatments, for example, transcranial magnetic stimulation that is effectively being used to treat inpatients and outpatients across the country, effectively treating patients who are not responding to medications, treating patients who experience suicidality, electroconvulsive therapy, which is a long-standing treatment but a very effective treatment in our patients with severe psychiatric illness. These treatments save the lives and are currently being advanced in this region. And being able to lead those efforts is extremely exciting, and I believe that this will be a hub. This hospital will be a hub for behavioral health services that will really be a marquee center that will showcase how effectively behavioral health services can be done across the region. Thank you all for your consideration.
As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite the speakers in opposition to this item, Mike Borrello, Audra, and Paul Henkin.
Consuelo, I am in total favor of this. Why? Because it just may help wake those who are too distracted, too medicated, too stressed, too fluoridated, essentially zombie slaves who are too damn distracted by your system to critically think. And that is exactly how government likes it. Slaves on the hamster wheel to nowhere, paying their taxes to you, asking for your permission, living the life government wants. It's slaves to live, the life they want and not the life the people were destined to have. Also, I'm in favor because humans actually believe that it is government that gives them their rights. Every constitution, they have to realize this, and after you all fund this, they will hopefully realize that every constitution in the world is a code of conduct for government to follow, to ensure, to protect, defend, vindicate, and uphold their rights, our rights. The government does not give us our rights. The government is obliged to protect those rights. Also, it'll help in waking up the three types of people right now on the earth. First, those too brainwashed or stupid to even be able to comprehend what is exactly happening. Two, those who understand what is happening but are too afraid to voice what they know for fear of judgment. And 3, those that understand and are willing to fight for the freedom and put themselves through ridicule in order to not only save themselves, but the entire planet. There is no justification for acts of injustice. These funds will help because the people will see that you all know what you are doing. You all know that you are following an agenda. You keep your blind and gullible constituents happy by giving them these bullshit proclamations. We see right through you. We will not stop calling you out, never.
Next speaker, please.
Amen, sister. You use the name Audra, so county does have a key role and are the driver of mental and behavioral health issues. That's what you guys are. And so you're wondering why there's an increase, or you're talking about a significant volume of these people. You're damn straight. Think about all the kids that you guys have tortured and terrorized through all of these mandates and crap that you're doing, and all of the people that you're not helping that have mental health issues because they're homeless, and you're like, I'm gonna help you, and you don't really do it. But it's just interesting because if you actually saw what you were doing, I mean, yeah, there is going to be a need for this. And you're gonna do shock treatment? What the fuck? I mean, can we test that out on you guys first? Just, I mean, we need to make sure it works, right? So will you be the guinea pigs for that? I don't know, but I would like to see if I could get one of these beds. Evidently, they're $500,000 per bed, which is a very good discount from the $5 to $7 million that it normally costs. I'm just wondering, are these like Trump beds? Are they gold? Are there like gold toilets? Because I wouldn't mind staying in one of those. I feel like those are gonna be very nice, right? Yeah. $500,000 for one bed. Really? Whose money is that? I don't know. Is it yours, Helen? No, but you love to spend it. You love spending money, it's crazy. Oh my gosh. I'm hoping I can get that grant for my organization. I'm gonna go apply later today so I can tell people next time that you guys denied it. Ha!
Next speaker, please.
Mike Barillo. So I signed up in opposition of this, but to be clear, I'm not in opposition of psychiatric care for people in the community. I know that the homeless suffer from psychiatric problems. Unlike LGBTQ, that Tara says is the main reason we have homeless on the street. I don't believe that's true. It's alcohol, drugs, and psychiatric problems. But what I oppose is a sole source. Sole source contracts are, by their very nature, vulnerable to instances of fraud and collusion. The anti-competitive practice forwarding contracts to a single vendor obscures the procurement process, reduces oversight, is unfair to other businesses, taxpayers, and ensures that the majority of communications during procurement occurs behind closed doors. So why not just put it out to bid? Is it really that much more work to put it out to bid? Actually, a sole source, you need to write a really good justification. And you need to look at what the other possibilities are, and that takes a lot of work to write a good justification. Just put it out for bid. The other thing I wanted to add to this, there's a book written called Psychiatric Hegemony, a Marxist Theory of Mental Illness. What we're seeing in large psychiatric cases now in the county, and then the response of government to it, is kind of an attribute of a Marxist society. When you grow psychiatric illnesses and then the way the government responds to it, it just gets bigger and bigger. And you need to look at the root cause rather than just start building hospitals to fix the people. Fix the problem, find the root of the problem, and cure the frequency of psychiatric illness. And you're not addressing that.
Next speaker, please.
Colhinken. This proposal will only make our behavioral health care BHC worker shortage worse. The report you sponsored says San Diego will gain significant population by 2027. Since it's lost population for the last 3 years, according to your own budget report, where do your figures come from? The whiz? I think this is the bigger issue. It almost sounds like you want to throw money at this problem, not focus on quality. The BHC director said some of what this report says might seem shocking. The sheer size of the necessary growth in workforce sets a massively ambitious target. Size, not quality, disturbing. You need to reject the proposed contract, revamp your plans, and plan a realistic future. On June 14th, you voted to negotiate for acute care psychiatric services at Alvarado Hospital, quote, short-term acute care facility with 2 out of 5 patient experience rating. Surely BHC professionals would rather see the patient through to good health. Why don't you contract with Sharp Hospital, Rosemont, as long as you're giving money to renovate the BHC department there? Your policies, mandates, and demands are what drive people nuts. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll begin with our first caller.
It's true. Luxury expensive beds, Audra, but apparently the price is torture via electric shock. Maybe not worth it. This item's equity impact statement refers to the lie about the so-called social determinants of health, which the CDC says includes racism as a factor of bad health. That's how much of a joke and lies that baseless conspiracy theory is built on. The equity impact also refers to equitably distributed services. How very communistic. The item says, quote, under the San Diego County Board of Supervisors, behavioral health care in San Diego County is in the midst of a profound transformation, end quote. I couldn't agree more. Things are changing for the worse. We see the beginnings of a replica of the eugenics era where criminals are being allowed to walk free without any time served for their crimes and are instead being institutionally incarcerated into a behavioral health care system centered on continuous so-called care with, as the item says, efforts guided within and outside of government. Who's the outside stakeholder in this item, I wonder? I'd also like to know what so-called acute symptoms of mental illness are. Is that the same thing as being bananas for moneypox? The item also says that services typically last less than 24 hours, which makes this whole program seem like a complete waste of money, even though it claims that it reduces unnecessary hospitalization. I'd also like to know if behavioral health hubs are anything like Sandag's mobility hubs, where people become entrapped in a system devoid of freedom of choice. This program will cost $3 million just for design at Alvarado Hospital with only 44 beds, and then the spending is gone.
Thank you. And Chair Fletcher, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. Happy to make a motion to approve all the recommendations in this item. Is there a second? All right, we'll go to Supervisor Desmond.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you very much to staff and to Dr. Bergman and Nick and the whole team on this effort. And I do remember that 3rd Avenue building, and when we you first brought that forward, Chair, to the board, and we needed a hub. We needed a central location for the behavioral health services here in San Diego County, and that was the best one we had going at the time. But I'm happy to see that you came up with a faster, better, quicker remedy that we can get people in beds and people to the health care they need sooner and at a cheaper price. So thank you very much for all your efforts. I'll be supporting the item. Thank you.
Vice Chair Vargas.
I just wanted to also just recognize everyone on the behavioral health team, and thank you, Chair Fletcher, for leading this effort. We have a crisis, and the fact that you were able to put something together so quickly and moving, I think it's a testament of the commitment of the county and county team to really get this done. I am particularly thrilled to see that there's going to be spaces for our Medi-Cal residents. I think that's where there is a great void. And so I really just wanted to say thank you for the great work and the fact that we're going to be able to service individuals with this new crisis service. So thank you for that again.
Thank you. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Yeah, honestly, I just want to thank you guys. It's just such a important initiative, and we've all agreed for a long time that this needed to move forward and managed to unlock the bottleneck and come up with an approach that I think saves significant resources for our county, is able to draw down additional dollars from the state and federal government and bring more money into our region to support, our residents who are suffering from mental health crisis. So I think all in all, it's a win, and thank you for the hard work in making it happen.
Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't want District 2 not to say thank you as well. I really appreciate the hard work that you put into this, and I'm very excited about it. This is one of my campaign promises, that we would focus more on mental health. I certainly appreciated Chairman Fletcher's hard work last year on this issue, and as my constituents drive down the street, they'll know moving forward that for many of those folks that clearly need help, there'll be help available. So thank you for that.
Thank you all. Ringing endorsement now. Get it done quick. Motion by myself, second by Vice Chair Vargas. Please vote.
Chair Fletcher, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We'll do agenda item number 17, and then we'll take a short recess for lunch. Receive update on homeless solutions and equitable communities and accept funding. We will turn it over to staff for their presentation.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher and members of the board. On April 6th of 2021, your board took bold action in establishing the Department of Homeless Solutions and Equitable Communities within the Health and Human Service Agency to centralize the county's work around homelessness with an effort to ensure equity amongst underserved communities and drive real results. Today, we are thrilled to provide you with a one-year update on the Department of Homeless Solutions and Equitable Communities, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to share our progress this morning. Now I'm going to turn over to Barbara Jimenez, our Community Operations Officer for the Department of Homeless Solutions and Equitable Communities, who will provide details of our progress to date, but to note, we have much more work ahead still to accomplish. And with that, I'll turn it to Barbara.
Thank you, Nick. Good morning, Chair, or good afternoon. Oh, it's still morning. Good morning, Chair Fletcher, members of the board. The Department of Homeless Solutions and Equitable Communities, or HSAC, officially launched on July 1st, 2021. This reorganization of resources and addition of new resources improved our efficiency and effectiveness as the county expands its regional leadership on homelessness and makes a positive difference in the lives of those who need it the most. HSAC is comprised of 3 offices, and I'm happy to be joined today by 2 of our office directors. The Office of Homeless Solution, led by Acting Director Deanna Beck, focuses on building a coordinated and robust homeless services system, increasing street outreach and case management, cross-threading of programs to prevent those at risk of homelessness from becoming homeless. The Office of Equitable Communities, led by Director Jennifer Bransford-Coons, focuses on enhancing community engagement and collaboration and devoting efforts to meeting the needs of underserved communities with a focus on embracing diversity, social and health equity, economic inclusion, and poverty reduction. And lastly, the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, led by Director Lucero Chavez Basilio, focuses on advancing equity and opportunities for immigrants and refugee communities by removing barriers to help them integrate into society and thrive. The three offices work together within the department and across the entire enterprise to achieve better coordination of existing and new county homeless and equitable community efforts, and serves as a central point of collaboration for outside partners to ensure equity among all San Diegans and reduce homelessness in the region. For the last year, HSAC has operated with great urgency in providing a platform to engage in partnerships with cities, community-based organizations, businesses, and other regional partners, strategically leverage existing resources as well as pursue new resources, and serves as a catalyst for meaningful solutions and positive regional outcomes, all done through an equity lens. I'm excited to now share with you all milestones and key accomplishments since the establishment of HSAC. I'll start with the Office of Homeless Solutions, or OHS. In November of 2021, the board approved the county's framework for ending homelessness. The framework for ending homelessness is our strategic guide for the design, development, and sustainability of programs. I'm pleased to report that OHS has been able to work collaboratively to secure significant additional funding sources, totaling approximately $30 million in support of this framework. We worked with the Regional Task Force on Homelessness and the City of San Diego on the application on the Homeless Assistance Program Round 3 state funding. We coordinated on data and funding analysis as well as common outcome goals and are on track to collaboratively bring over $50 million to the region. The county's allocation of this funding is $12.8 million. This was presented to the board in May of 2022 and will fund existing and new programs in OHS. We also work collaboratively with the Public Safety Group to secure $6 million under Proposition 47, which was awarded in July of 2022. This funding will provide care coordination services to recently released justice-involved individuals with a mental health or substance use disorder or who are at risk of homelessness. We also received $8 million for the Housing Disability Advocacy Program to provide assistance, housing, and legal support to those who are disabled and experiencing homelessness. Lastly, in collaboration with Aging and Independent Services, we will be leveraging funding from the state for the Home Safe program, which added nearly $3 million for expansion of the criteria to serve older adults experiencing homelessness. Next, I'll cover what we have accomplished with the enhanced funding as well as the ARPA allocated funding. In February of 2022, the board approved the OHS implementation plan for compassionate emergency housing solutions. Earlier this month, the very first compassionate emergency housing solution for East County was launched. The county has contracted with an experienced provider, Dreams for Change, to manage this new site, Magnolia Safe Parking. The site has 17 safe parking spaces every night for people who are experiencing homelessness, who live in their vehicles, and as of today, the site is operating at capacity. The site has 24-hour security, provides 2 daily meals, hygiene facilities, and most importantly, case managers who will connect residents to more permanent housing options and community resources. We established this new site where earlier this year a large encampment had formed, as pictured on the left here. In response to that encampment, we led coordinated outreach efforts in collaborations with other county departments, as well as key community partners, to connect 103 people experiencing homelessness to shelter and housing, in addition to other resources. Furthering our work on developing compassionate emergency housing solutions in partnership with the Department of General Services, we are evaluating numerous sites to establish safe parking, RV parking, non-congregate shelters, or sleeping cabins. Through that process, we have identified viable sites in East County which are currently under consultant review. Another compassionate emergency housing solution we helped coordinate was the Rosecrans Shelter, which provides up to 150 emergency beds in the Midway area. This included engagement with key stakeholders, planning for the site and services, and execution of a MOA between the county, the City of San Diego, and Lucky Duck Foundation. The Lucky Duck Foundation donated the sprung shelter and funded the installation. The county is providing the site, along with site preparation and utilities, while the City of San Diego is providing ongoing services and operation. In addition, the county is providing on-site behavioral health and self-sufficiency services, as well as public health guidance. This structure is opening in the very near future and will offer on-site behavioral health services and 24-hour intakes. I'd also like to share an update on the Regional Homeless Assistance Program, or RHAP, which utilizes hotel rooms as a bridge shelter program, and it provides emergency housing, case management, and housing navigation services to the unincorporated regions of the county. Participants in the program are linked to emergency hotel vouchers and time-limited rental subsidy vouchers. Since January of 2020, RHAP has sheltered over 1,100 people who are experiencing homelessness, and of those, 30% have been permanently housed. Additionally, in May of 2022, the board approved the creation of a $10 million compassionate emergency housing grant program, which provided funding opportunities to the 18 incorporated cities to expand their emergency housing options. We recently awarded 3 cities with funding for their innovative projects and are working on the announcements of those awards. Once announcements are made, we will release another round so cities can apply for the funding that has not been allocated. In July of 2022, we helped facilitate an MOU between HHSA and the cities of El Cajon, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, and Santee, which will increase access to low-barrier emergency housing and facilities, permanent housing, and establish a shared network of housing through mutual collaborative efforts. These accomplishments were only successful due to the great partnerships with county departments and key stakeholders. Our Office of Homeless Solutions Direct Services is a multidisciplinary team that provides street outreach and case management to connect individuals to self-sufficiency programs, housing, and resources. This past year, the team has made close to 18,000 engagements with persons at risk of or experiencing homelessness countywide, and they have completed nearly 3,300 self-sufficiency applications in the field, connecting people to CalFresh and other basic needs programs. In addition, they have been successful in connecting over 1,500 individuals to temporary, permanent, or emergency housing, as well as shelter options throughout the region. Additionally, we have a new program called the Housing Disability Advocacy Program, or HDAP. This program assists people who are disabled and at risk of or experiencing homelessness with services, housing, and benefit legal advocacy. We have begun successfully enrolling participants since the launch last month. In partnership with the Regional Task Force on Homelessness, the Homeless Management Information System has been enhanced in order to capture data from the Office of Homeless Solutions outreach teams that will provide us with performance measures and outcomes countywide. By leveraging technology, this will allow us to transition from a manual system to better understand the number of people experiencing homelessness in each region. Future outcomes will be presented in public dashboards on the RTFH website. In addition, the RevTech Outreach app is a new application that will enable county staff who are not specifically to work with people experiencing homelessness to identify individuals and encampments electronically and send a referral to our Office of Homeless Solutions Direct Services team. This app is on track to go live in October of this year. We manage a number of existing contracts, and we're also responsible for new program design, development, and implementation. The Community Care Coordination Program, or C3, provides up to 12 months of comprehensive care coordination, service navigation, and housing assistance to adults who have a serious mental illness, are homeless or at risk of homelessness, are justice involved, and exiting local jails. This program aims to shelter individuals immediately upon release from custody and assist them into a more permanent housing and supportive services. By providing individuals with shelter and supportive services, we attempt to break the cycle of homelessness and recidivism into the criminal justice system. Building upon this successful model, we established 2 other C3 programs with similar design but different focus populations: C3 for veterans and our C3 straight to home programs for individuals with high needs, including behavioral health needs and chronic physical health conditions. In addition, the Prop 47 funding, which I previously referred, will be used to create a new community care coordination program that is slated to come online in the beginning of the new year. In fiscal year 21-22, C3 programs collectively served 176 high-need individuals exiting custody. Of those, 93% were sheltered immediately upon release, and of those sheltered, 52% have been connected to permanent housing. Over 70% have been connected to supportive services. Continuing with our other successful programs, Housing Our Youth, or HOY, provides specialized assistance to youth up to age 24 through San Diego County who are at risk of or experiencing homelessness. This program uniquely brings together youth providers to work in partnership to offer supportive support along with intensive care coordination. Since December of 2020, the program has successfully placed 254 youth in an array of housing options and permanently housed 131 youth. In addition, the domestic violence shelter-based program services help survivors of domestic violence across the county. We are pleased to report that through these collective efforts in fiscal year 21-22, there were 14,000 survivor engagements, and of those, 1,400 utilized a shelter bed and received housing assistance. Programs that currently are in development and are anticipated to go live before the end of the year include the Coordinated Eviction Prevention System, which will provide coordinated eviction prevention services region-wide, as well as the specialized funding for imminent needs, which will provide the funding for critical expenses for people experiencing homelessness to reduce barriers to housing. The program will be available to our outreach team countywide to assist those engaged in case management. Now moving over to the Office of Equitable Communities, or OEQC, and in teams who are immersed on multiple levels within the community. We have the Community Health and Engagement Team, who supports the planning and implementation of various health and well-being programs and initiatives. One of the most prominent examples of these efforts from this year is the Grandparents Raising Grandchildren Family Enrichment event. This event brought together 830 kinship family members to the San Diego Zoo and the Safari Park to access valuable resources and to connect with one another within the special population. This was the largest number of participants we have ever seen, and registration was full within 48 hours, demonstrating that the county and the community is ready for these type of opportunities. Additionally, since the beginning of the year, the Community Health and Engagement Team has participated in over 240 community events that were attended by over 30,000 residents, directly touching the lives of over 12,300 individuals and families. In efforts to find more efficient ways to connect with our communities, weekly e-newsletters were implemented to increase our reach and attain a better understanding of community needs. Over the last 6 months, our community engagement efforts resulted in over a 29% increase in unique subscribers, providing over 2,500 monthly regionally targeted communications. We're committed to enhancing our networks to ensure our communities are aware of and have access to available resources and services. OEQC continues to lead and support efforts to enhance our community engagement to meet the needs of underserved communities and lift their voices. A great example of this is the support of the Resident Leadership Academy, or RLA program, where neighborhood leaders are trained to advance the development of their own communities to be equitable, resilient, and thriving. Within this fiscal year 21-22, we achieved a 96.6% graduation rate among the RLA cohort. To deepen our understanding and address the needs of the community, OEQC has hired regional community coordinators in each region to strengthen, build, and facilitate collaboration amongst our community partners. They reflect the communities they serve with longstanding experience, either living and or working in their designated region. They know the landscape and have experience engaging with partners to address the specific region's health and social needs. Their work is essential in supporting the county's vision of a just, sustainable, and resilient future for all. And all 6 of our RCCs are here today, along with Deputy Director Rosa Gracian. We have Jeanette Barragan, Crystal Skirvin, Kellyanne Rodriguez, Justine Cozo, Herminia Ramirez, and Belinda Slatero. Another layer of community health engagement that we're really proud is our community health workforce. Community health workers are the frontline public health workers who are trusted members of their community. They're well positioned to understand the community's needs and perspective. They are culturally and linguistically diverse while helping the community gain needed access to services and resources. In recognition of work that was done during COVID-19, we've been building the internal capacity of our community health workers by leveraging various COVID-19 public health grants. The grants are being utilized to staff 10 community health worker liaisons, which are experienced community health workers. Since mid-April, this workforce has participated in close to 100 events and have reached and connected over 4,600 community members. In addition, for the first time in county history, community health workers are a permanent classification that will continue to drive the county's mission. We are excited to fill these 12 new positions with onboarding expected to begin in September. They will serve in the areas of highest need, using data-driven assessments to prioritize their placement based on the Healthy Places Index 4th quartile. And lastly, I just want to highlight how we regularly cross-thread through different departments countywide to share best practices, updates, opportunities to collaborate, and ideas to enhance our community engagement. A great example of this is the countywide Translation, Language, and Culture Connection work group that we lead. This work group aims to identify challenges, share tools, and provide training opportunities to improve processes around creating materials and communication to ensure they're accurately translated, culturally responsive, accessible, and trauma-informed. We also cross-thread through a statewide collaboration around community health worker capacity with other counties such as LA, Sonoma, and San Jose. And we continue to cross-thread with community members and internal and external partners through the ongoing development of the Southeastern Livewell Center. Most recently, we conducted a public artwork input tour, which received 435 surveys with direct input from local residents on the murals and public artwork that will be displayed at the Livewell Center, the colors of the building, and the naming of the driveway. And last but not least, I'd like to provide some updates about the progress for our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, or OIRA. I'm excited to announce that Lucero Chavez Basilio, an experienced representative for immigrants and refugees, was selected to serve as the first director for OIRA, and she started on July 15th of this year. Before joining the county, Lucero, a bilingual Spanish speaker and attorney, spent more than 10 years representing immigrant and refugee children in families and immigration proceedings and in humanitarian and family-based petition. She has experience creating and implementing immigration policies and programs. Since starting just over a month ago, she has hit the ground running. She's begun meeting with key partners to build relationships and hear firsthand how OIRA can support the community. Earlier this month, she held the first community listening session to help identify the needs of the communities, which will in turn inform the priorities for the office as they begin forming a strategic plan. Additional listening sessions will take place over the coming months. So while searching for the best candidate for the director's role, there were several high priority and urgent needs for newcomers in San Diego in the last year. OIRA, supported by OEQC, worked to diligently address the needs over the year. The coming slides will share the progress that we made over the last year, and we look forward to continuing to support Lucero and the staff she's in the process of hiring to continue this work in the future. In October of 2021, the board directed the CAO to work with the refugee resettlement agencies and other key stakeholders to coordinate a response plan to successfully address the anticipated influx of Afghanistan refugees into the county. In response, we convened the task force to support Afghan evacuees in San Diego, with over 100 attendees representing community-based organizations, resettlement agencies, cities, the state and federal partners, and other groups. After the task force met, the office convened a steering committee in which key stakeholders and partners identified the following priorities and established work groups led by both county subject matter experts and community partners. The three topics were housing, behavioral health, and social, emotional, cultural, and volunteer coordination. The work groups met weekly from January to April of 2022 and provided input to inform the countywide response plan. In response to community requests that emerged from these work groups, we launched a webpage dedicated to providing information and resources to our immigrant and refugee populations. In May of 2022, FEMA opened a temporary Afghan welcoming center in El Cajon, where a significant percentage of this population has resettled. FEMA reported over 3,500 Afghan guests were served at the center during the 2-week period. We ensured that help staff at the center, which provided interpretation services, employment assistance, housing support, school enrollment, referrals for legal services, and health screenings. Additionally, we applied for a funding augmentation from the California Department of Social Services to supplement our existing Afghan refugee support services to implement many of the recommendations from the work groups. This month, we were notified that we received the maximum award of $2 million, and San Diego is one of only 4 counties to receive this allocation. Upon your approval today, this funding will be used to implement the projects that were recommended from the Afghan evacuee work group, such as the landlord education program, an initial emotional wellness and self-care education, and the hiring of community health workers to help support this. I'm also proud to announce that OIRA and First 5 San Diego collaborated in applying for a First 5 California Refugee Family Support Grant and recently received a notice of award in June of 2022 for the amount of $423,000 through August of 2023. This funding will help support refugee families with pregnant individuals and/or children ages 0 to 5 to navigate and connect to available services in a trauma-informed, culturally and linguistically designed program. Again, the design for this grant was leveraged from the input from the Afghan work groups that I previously mentioned. The focus will be to support families through socio-cultural adjustment and care coordination. We'll be utilizing the community health worker model to facilitate programs to provide a service which helps navigate the healthcare system and a transportation network. OIRA also engages and supports migrants, immigrants, asylum seekers, and refugees from all places. Now I'd like to highlight several 2022 achievement awards from the National Association of Counties for HSAC. The Office of Homeless Solutions received 3 awards, one for community care coordination for veterans, the second for housing our youth, and the third for our regional direct homeless services program. HSAC also received an ACO award for the COVID-19 cross-border vaccination events. These recognitions are a true testament to the impact of the work of our staff and our partners in the community. We're proud to share our first-year accomplishments and milestones, but we know, as Nick mentioned, our work is far from being done. We look forward in advancing all aspects of our department, strengthening the existing partnerships, and forming new ones while keeping equity and sustainability at the forefront of our work. Lastly, we'd like to put forth the following recommendations. Receive the update and presentation on the Department of Homeless Solutions and Equitable Communities. Authorize the agency director, HHSA, to execute plans and any other action necessary as required for acceptance of the Afghan Refugee Support Services supplemental allocation funding of $2 million for the project period of October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2024. Authorize the Director, Department of Purchasing and Contracting to issue a competitive solicitation for Afghan Refugee Support Services, and authorize the Agency Director, HHSA, to apply for future funding opportunities related to addressing homelessness, poverty, and equity. Thank you, Chair Fletcher and members of the board. Subject to your questions, this concludes our presentation.
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you for all the work that is being done across all of the various entities that you outlined. On homelessness, it's good to see us. I think the Magnolia encampment, Supervisor Anderson showed real leadership on as a demonstration of what you can do, connecting people to services and housing, and then taking that location and turning it into a service-providing place. The Midway shelter moving, and in particular, our partnership with the cities, providing grants, standard MOUs, and really pushing them to get more things up and running, and then us being willing to step in and help. And all the efforts, it's wonderful to see OIRA up and running and staffed welcome you and all the work we're doing with Afghans and everyone else. So really pleased with the progress. We certainly have a long way to go. We have a tremendous amount of work. The need is very great, and you see it in the community. So we're reminded daily of how much we have to go. But appreciate all the work that's been done. Let me ask the clerk to call forward our public speakers, and then we'll come back to board members for comments.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 12 total requests to speak on item 17, 2 in person and 10 requesting to speak by phone. Also note we did not receive any e-comments on this item. Any members of the public that requested to speak by phone on item 17, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. Both speakers are in opposition to this item. As your name is called, please come forward. Audra and Consuelo. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record.
Use the name Audra. You're so right, Nathan. We do have a very long way to go. Oh, it's so funny. I don't know, it's just like you guys just always want to seek funding for homelessness, and it just seems to be getting worse. And then I wonder, well, could it be that when I went and asked for some assistance, they said, oh, do you have kids? Sorry, we can't help you. There's no state or federal funding for individuals. So the fact that I actually cannot bear children is being used against me. So you're telling me that you actually help individuals? Is that why they're all out on the streets? Because if you can't bear children, so what do they tell men? So it's like, you know, men, I mean, but I could go get a child. I could identify as somebody's mother, probably, and just be saying I'm taking care of them and then get help. I don't know, but that's pretty sad. You know what I was told? They said, go down to the Board of Supervisors and let them know. And they will do something about it. If enough people go, they'll do something about it. It's like, you don't know who you're talking to. But that is a big problem. If you're going to actually discriminate against people that cannot physically bear children, that's a big problem. It's huge, because you're getting millions of dollars, and it's not going to help people. So I'd like to see some kind of, you know, progress. But I mean, the way you talk, Nathan, we have a very long way to go, right? Because you actually don't help people. It's bullshit.
Next speaker, please.
Consuelo. So what I wanted to ask was, who else is on the board besides the Out of Touch? Do you have any homeless on the board? Any homeless? Got it. Do you have any input from the homeless? Got it. Do you know of anyone personally or have relatives who are homeless? Friends? Got it. So let's talk about how they become homeless. Let's talk about how the design of the system is working impeccably to guarantee full dependency on local big government. People don't just end up in tents on the streets. First, they are in their cars or their motorhomes. Then they are constantly, and I do mean constantly, being harassed by law enforcement. And they are bullied with tickets, parking violations. Their vehicles are eventually towed away with their belongings by the cops via orders from the county. These people have barely enough money to put gas in their vehicles, let alone to get their cars back out from being impounded. You take their cars, their belongings, and their dignity, and then you act and wonder why we have so many fucking homeless. Government is such a fucking racket. It's a joke. The system is actually designed for the people to struggle. It's designed for the majority to fail. Yet government acts like the heroes to come in and save the day. Wake up, people. Don't you see what's going on? Don't you see what they are doing?
We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Begin with our first caller.
Hi, this is Zeke Sandoval with PATH, People Assisting the Homeless. I want to pass along a comment and support from our outreach team. We strongly support the continuation of HSEC services, in particular the work of the Office of Homeless Solutions, which over the last year has been a strong and consistent partner in our work throughout the county. OHS leadership and staff have demonstrated a strong commitment to values we share, such as the use of evidence-based practices, focus on housing outcomes for people experiencing homelessness, prioritization of service based on vulnerability, and willingness to coordinate limited resources that maximize our impact across the region. OHS has taken the lead on impactful homeless interventions in underserved areas of the county, filling gaps and setting a standard for service in the field. We're very excited to see the work continue. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Good morning. This is Lisa Jones, Executive Vice President of Strategic Initiatives for the San Diego Housing Commission. On behalf of the Housing Commission, we would like to thank and applaud the County Board of Supervisors and Chair Fletcher for their leadership and for directing staff to create the county's Office of Homelessness Solutions and Equitable Communities. And thank you to Barbara Jimenez and her team for the update on the extensive efforts they have undertaken in the past year. The efforts of the Board of Supervisors and county staff and deep collaboration that has been occurring with stakeholders across the region is critical to decrease homelessness and to elevate opportunities through person-centered, equitable approaches and access to critical services. We thank you so much for the leadership and partnership and look forward to working with you more in the future.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Hello, my name is Hafsa Keka, and I was appointed by Mayor Gloria as the city's Director of Homelessness Strategies and Solutions for the City of San Diego. And I'd like to speak today in support of the Office of Homeless Solutions. Building upon the leadership of Mayor Gloria and Chair Fletcher in prioritizing homelessness and the support of the City of San Diego City Council and the members of the Board of Supervisors, there has been unprecedented amount of collaboration and partnership in critical programs and services for the unhoused. We are so very grateful for Barbara, Deanna, and her entire team, along with the Board of Supervisors' support in establishing not only the framework on addressing homelessness, but creating this infrastructure to support it. Following Barbara's presentation, I'd just like to highlight a few tangible examples. Starting from 2020, in terms of collaboration with COVID, we worked with the county on isolation beds, Operation Shelter at Home, along with the regional task force, the Housing Commission, to house 4,000 people in the San Diego Convention Center. And this was unprecedented collaboration. As Barbara mentioned, we collaborated on our grants, homeless housing assistance prevention, on regional goals that served all different populations and a plethora of services, including the most vulnerable seniors, veterans, and our transitional age youth and families, and more. Fall of this last year, we had the establishment of the Sea Heart Shelter, harm reduction beds for 44-bed shelter, a combination of multidisciplinary community harm reduction teams to ensure that the most vulnerable are having access to services. And then, of course, as mentioned by Barbara, the Rosecrans Shelter, along with the city and the Housing Commission and Alpha Project, and the county providing the site and site prep, along with the incredible behavioral health team to stand up the 125, 150-bed shelter. And of course, most recently, the city has coordinated focused outreach events across the board in the city of San Diego. And we are so grateful for the Barbara team as well as the county behavioral health team for Live Well Done and the critical components.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Consuela, you're playing audio and the chambers is disrupting the conduct. This is your first warning.
Nimisha, just wanted to let you guys know I'm opposed to this. The homeless situation has not been dealt with very well. Now you want the dollars allocated for the Afghan people, so now you can siphon that off and do whatever the heck you want. From my experience with looking and working and being around the Afghans is that they're pretty self-sufficient. They actually don't need the extra dollars the way you guys say they need it. All this adds is more layers of government coming in and doing stuff. There are more NGOs working with the Afghan people, and they're very well equipped to take care of themselves. What we need is that we need to get our people who have served in the military who are homeless, we need to take care of them. We need to take care of young mothers who are homeless, and all those issues are not being taken care of. All you have is people assigned with these government positions taking government dollars and not showing the benefits of what work has been done. I'm still seeing homeless people, very well-able people, or people who are not able to even walk, who are out begging, and nobody's taking care of them. It really disheartens me that this situation has been going on for a long time, and you have been so inept, such a failure in dealing with this. It's a shame that a beautiful city like San Diego deals with the homelessness in such a bad, inept manner. Just a shame on all you guys, you know. It's just a dog and pony show to show everybody. If I went into the records of what's really been going on, I'm sure that we could find some really good pieces of evidence of all the good work you've been doing, because I just don't see it. And then, you know what? Maybe you could use those dollars to do something better than to lure in the Afghan people and getting the funding for them. I don't even know how much of it they're going to get. People need to get their act together.
Now hear from the next caller.
This is truth. Audra's on more discrimination. And Nimi, thanks for standing up for hardworking Afghans. Dead on. This item talks about $2 million to accept the Afghan Refugee Support Services. It sounds like chump change to sell out the county for a 3-year period. The item says, quote, throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, certain zip codes in San Diego County have suffered disproportionately, end quote. You know, there could be a lot less homelessness if you supervisors would stop creating new permit fees for everything and engaging in emergency order shutdowns of our lives, where small mom and pop shops go out of business forever, or even your fake help you offer those businesses that are still barely hanging on by a thread. And all you do is offer them loans. That is more debt. This item tries to go around the fact that most homeless people happen to be classified as white Americans, and that most people who are living on the streets are actually sheltered. The reality is not as bad as the picture they're trying to paint. So forget the framework for ending homelessness. We need a framework for ending lives. And it reminds me of the care court agenda these supervisors approved on May 24th that enabled the state to overstep its legal authority and can now force a homeless person into housing and treatment programs, all at the county's expense. This item's equity impact statement mentions providing support to people of color. All refugees and newcomers to this country need assistance, no matter what their skin color is. For example, providing immigrants on info where to learn English to help navigate life in their new country would be useful. I look forward to the day when you supervisors can quit seeing life through a racist equity lens. It makes you all blind. I'll leave you with a line from a song from a band called Face to Face. It's not too late to realize that you're all the same.
Chair Fletcher, that concludes public comment on this item.
All right, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the recommendations in there. Is there a second? All right, second by Vice Chair Vargas. We will go first to Vice Chair Vargas.
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to first and foremost say thank you, Barbara, and to your team for all the great work in such a short amount of time. I know there's still a lot of work to be done, particularly in terms of our homeless, unsheltered populations. But I really appreciate that we're thinking outside the box and really trying to make sure that we're getting, rolling up our sleeves and getting it done. And a lot of the great work that's already been done in East County and some other areas. I know we are looking at some projects for District 1 as well. What I wanted also to emphasize is, I just want to make sure that we highlight how important it is that our community health workers will be classified staff now and that they're going to be integrated into the work that we're doing. Community health workers really are the heart of community and public health, and often they are not included in sort of the equity piece of the workforce. And so I'm really proud that as a county, we're taking this on and that we are showing other counties what we can do, because what we really are doing is meeting people where they're at, and that's what community health workers do. And I think the other power of this is that it doesn't conflict with all the other community health workers that already exist in the county. As a matter of fact, it actually supplements some of that work so that we can continue to move forward. So I am thrilled about that. I am also just want to personally say, and I haven't had a chance to meet with Ms. Lucero, but I just want to say welcome, bienvenida al Condado de San Diego. I think that we're very lucky to have you, and your breadth of expertise and knowledge, and I can't wait for all the great things that you will continue to do, and whatever I can do, I'm here to help and support. I think it's really important that, particularly in, I represent the busiest land border crossing in the country, and I'm very proud that during challenging times, our county continues to lead by helping those that seek that help. And so very excited about the work that's happening, particularly with our refugees and our Afghan community. And then also, I think that the fact, and one of the things that I really appreciate is that in item number 4, you say addressing homelessness, poverty, and equity. And I think that's the piece that sometimes we forget, that a lot of the root of the cause for some of the challenges that we're facing in this community are really connected to poverty. And so I really appreciate that we're looking at it from that lens, and that we're trying to get additional resources for our community. And the one thing I will say, I nomás quiero mencionarlo en español porque creo que es importante que el trabajo que se ha hecho específicamente en trabajo de comunidad es sumamente importante. Las nuevas promotoras que van a trabajar para el condado, Creo que va a dar una diferente perspectiva al condado de San Diego y más que nada pues que tenemos a una nueva directora de la Oficina de Asuntos Migratorios. Creo que en realidad va a ser un cambio para la región, no solamente para el condado y el trabajo que se va a hacer con las diferentes ciudades. Muy, muy importante para el trabajo que se hace y quiero dar las gracias a Barbara y a todo su equipo. Y tienes un equipo que definitivamente representa lo que es lo mejor del condado de San Diego y si las pueden ver a todas, creo yo que el trabajo que hacen todos los días es un trabajo increíble. And so I just wanted to mention a couple of words and say that, you know, you have a fabulous team that really reflects the diversity of this county and the power of this county. And it's really, really exciting to see. So with that, Chair, I'm happy. I think you made a motion, I seconded right already, so we're good. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. I personally want to thank you for all the great work over the last year. We've come a long way. We still have a long way to go. But publicly, I wanted to make sure you knew how much District 2 appreciated all the work that you're doing in our district. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. We have a, Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Yeah, I mean, again, just to echo my colleagues, but I know how hard you've been working. We've met on this a number of times, and we are making progress. This is an incredibly important priority across our district, and you know, it's just a sea change that now at the county we are not only engaging on the homeless issue, but doing it in a way that is strategic and holistic, and that's what I see here, and I'm just very, very happy to be able to continue to support that work. So thank you all. And yes, Lucero, you are so welcome. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. We've got a motion by myself, seconded by Vice Chair Vargas. Not seeing any other requests to speak. Ask the clerk to please call the roll. I'm sorry, please vote.
Chair Fletcher, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
It is 12:21. We will recess for lunch until 1 p.m. We will begin back at 1 p.m. Thanks, everyone.
Like you do. Give it to me.